Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are live right now in the sunny Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago. We're streaming to you on YouTube. I alerted some of you guys on Facebook. This is a stream. As you can see, the topic here is going to be Justice League and Suicide Squad. We're going to go through and compare some of the things, the parallels and contrasts between the two movies, because Justice League also does respond to the Suicide Squad movie. It's very interesting. So that's one thing. The other thing we're going to look at is some other DCEU themes. And of course, your chat section will be also very integral in what we will say in terms of the future of the DCEU and some of the upcoming DCU slates and some of the directors that come on board and stuff like that. But before I go any further, of course, I have to read a piece of scripture. So let's get into it. Psalm 77. Verse 11 says, I will remember the works of the Lord. Surely I will remember your wonders of old. In Psalms 78, it says, the children of Ephraim, being armed and carrying bows, turned back in the day of battle. They did not keep the covenant of God and refused to walk in his law, forgot his works and his wonders which he had showed them. Marvelous things he did in the sight of their fathers, in the land of Egypt, in the field of Zoan. He divided the sea and caused them to pass through. He made the waters to stand as a heap. In the daytime, he led them with a cloud, and in the night, a pillar of fire. He cut the rocks in the wilderness and gave them to drink out of the great depths of the rocks. He brought streams out of the rock and caused waters to run down like rivers. I want to stop there. Remembrance. Remembering where you came from and where you are now. Remembrance is such a powerful and a very important thing. And I wanted to emphasize on that because whether you're a spiritual person or not, you must remember where you came from and where you are now. Have you progressed? And if you have, remembrance keeps you grounded. I remember when I was homeless on the streets of Riverside, California. I remember it very well. I remember where I came from. I know I came from a middle-class family in the Caribbean. Things were really good. I went to study in the United States of America and got a sort of culture shock because I thought of America a certain way, and it actually turned out to be something different in pleasant ways and in unpleasant ways. And I ended up, because of my status, my visa status, being homeless on the side of the road while going to school and studying. And I say all of this to let you know the only reason I made it through that situation was because people home in Trinidad couldn't help me. The people who were supposed to be helping me abroad, even family, they weren't helping me. And I was alone. Nobody was helping me. I didn't have housing because I couldn't afford it because it was too expensive. And I ended up living off the streets. I lived on the streets. I found a place on the streets. I did not go into homeless shelters. And the reason I didn't go was because I saw how a homeless shelter is. And all I wanted was a place to lay my head. I worked in the day. It's crazy. I worked in the day, went to school in the day, studied all the way up until almost to the morning, left the library in the university, and I headed for my little hidden place. I have to dodge the police because it's illegal to sleep on the roadside. So it's just crazy how, you know, in my country, Trinidad and Tobago, people are homeless, but, you know, the weather's not bad. So people can actually live on the streets. They can live on the side of the road. They can live anywhere they want. Some people, they're drunk. They get drunk and they just fall down and they just fall asleep. It's crazy. Like, things are just so good here that people don't care. But suffice it to say, that you must know where you came from, folks. Remember where you came from, because where you came from keeps you grounded. And here, what David is speaking about is remembering. He does not forget. He always remembers where he came from and where these people, these Israelites, came from. And he passes it on to the next generation, how good God was to them. They were slaves. They came from slavery. God freed them. Remember that pillar of fire I shared with you guys? That pillar of fire that denotes death? Well, it wasn't death to the Israelites because the pillar of fire was behind them. It was death to the Egyptians who had enslaved them. So I just wanted to share that with you guys before we move on. I always like to share a piece of scripture. Whether you guys believe in God or not is irrelevant. I think the principles are still there. And if you believe in the principles, then you actually do believe in God. You just don't know it yet. Anyway, let's get on with it. I'm just going to close this door because I live in a Seventh-day Adventist home. Today is Shabbat or Sabbath for my family. I try to give them respect. So I stay in this little room here. I conduct myself. I try not to violate the rules of the place where I live. I try to live as peacefully with the people as possible. I advise you guys to do the same. All right, let's get on with it. So we're talking Justice League, Suicide Squad, plus some other stuff. First of all, I see some of you guys are here already viewing my video. I can see it from my Google Hangout here. I'm going to just, if you don't mind, I'm just going to go to YouTube right at this moment just to see what you guys are doing. If you're saying anything. R2 Lemonade, man. I would join the Hangout. I had fun the last time I did, but I need to leave for work now. All right, bro. Don't worry about it. It's not a problem. All right. Shout out to you. I have a blessed day, my brother. And I hope you have a good and productive day at work and wherever you go. All right. I hope you're a blessing to somebody. Going into what we're going to talk about today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the screenshot. Okay. So I'm going to go from yeah, I can do that. I'm going to go from what you're seeing here, my ugly face, to let's see here, where is it? Yeah. I'm gonna screen share what I have on my screen, and we're gonna just break down a couple things that I shared on social media. All right. So if you guys are cool with that, here we go. Booyah, right here. All right. So this here was a shot from Justice League, and I shared this with many people on social media, basically on Facebook. I haven't shared on Twitter. I have to go back on Twitter and share some stuff because I would love to share a lot of stuff I know about Justice League now with everybody else. But this is a shot from Twitter. If you guys want to leave a comment in the comment section, do you notice anything special about this shot here that you're watching on the screen? Any particular thing you noticed about it? Hold on one second. I just want to let me check if it is. Hold on one second. Okay. Okay. All right. The screen's going to do a little funky thing. Don't worry about it. Right. Okay. So yeah, leave your comments in the comment section, and you can go, I think somewhere at the side of this video, you'll be seeing where you can, the chat section, you can go right there. If you guys want to join me from in the Hangout, there is a link there. But when you join the Hangout, I want you to mute your microphone. Okay, that's the rule. You want you to mute the microphone. Anything anybody sees here before I move on. All right, this is for the YouTube people, basically, because already the people who are on Facebook, they would know what's going on here. All right, I'll give you guys enough time. So if you haven't noticed, what is it now? We know this is the scene where Barry Allen is talking to his father, Henry Allen. All right, in prison. All right, and this is just a snapshot of that scene. It's like a brief, like maybe a second, 2 seconds of that scene, and I caught something that Zack Snyder brilliantly put in there. All right, so let me tell you what it is. Okay, I'm going to reveal it to you right now. So basically, The prison that they're at is Iron Heights Penitentiary. Okay. And this is from the comic, The Flash, Iron Heights. That's the name of the comic. It was done by Jeff Johns, written by Jeff Johns. And it's a very good comic. You should really check it out. And let me just read off a little bit of it. Now, for those of you saying, where do you see that this is Iron Heights Penitentiary? How do you know that? Okay. I'm going to come back to this picture right here, this image. All right. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to look carefully. Look at it carefully. Look at the screenshot carefully. Something's going to come to your eye because I told you where they are. The hint is there. You see it yet? Do you see it? Do you see it? Write the answer. Write the answer in the chat section. Do you see it? Write the answer in the chat section. I'll get back to you guys in the chat section a little later. You see it? Do you see it? All right, let me show you. So I gave you guys ample time to see it. Take your eye and look to your left, to the left of the screen. By now, you should have seen it. All right, so you keep on looking to your left. You're going to see a prison officer there, and then you're going to see an inmate. And he's going towards the gate because he's going to leave. Now, look at his shirt. Look at his shirt. What does it say? What does the back of the shirt say? That's right. The back of the shirt says Iron Heights Penitentiary. It's an Easter egg. All right. So Zach actually showed you. Oh, he's telling you where this is. This was less than a second. Okay. This is in the beginning as Barry Allen is about to talk to his father. The father's picking up the phone. This guy, he was talking to his lawyer who had a whole stack of things. And the lawyer turns and leaves, and he's turning to leave. And he just waits a brief moment in time before they open the gate. And that's when you see it. It's an Easter egg. Something you got to look for. All right. And Iron Heights Penitentiary is a place where the Flash, he generally would put criminals. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Iron Heights Penitentiary. It's very interesting. Okay. And this is where Henry Allen is. It's very, very interesting. So let me just read off what they say here because I don't want you to know my words. Let's just read it off because we got time. In the mid-20th century, this island was originally the site of a military hospital, but one night a terrible fire broke out. Hundreds of patients and staff were trapped as the hospital burnt to the ground. The island was then converted into one of the most secure prisons in the world. Since then, it has earned a reputation that rivals Belle Reve prison. And you know, Belle Reve, by the way, is the prison that we saw in Suicide Squad, which is in Louisiana, in the marsh fields of Louisiana. I once heard Judge Bates say that a sentence to Iron Heights was a sentence worse than death. And you'll see why in a minute. Now, let me give you a little bit more insight into Iron Heights. Iron Heights is actually run by Gregory Wolfe. And we're going to introduce you to him this way. Now, it holds a lot of metahumans there. A lot of metahumans are held in Iron Heights. We knew there was metahumans that were held in Belle Reve as well. We know there are metahumans that were held in Arkham Asylum. So we know at least 3 places. There's Arkham Asylum. It's Iron Heights. You know, that dawns on me something. I should have really checked that out. Go check BVS. See where Lex Luthor was actually stationed before he went to Arkham Asylum. I want to know where he was stationed because I don't know where that prison was. I don't know what prison that was. I don't know if it was Metropolis prison or what. So check that out. But there are several different prisons, right? The Gulag was known in Kingdom Come, which is something Superman made for superpowered beings. But yeah, you got Iron Heights. So here we have Iron Heights, and let's go into it. So here's an inmate coming into Iron Heights, right? You got rock. They push him in, and he says, "What the hell is this?" And they bolt his hand down. And then you hear the gentleman say, "Good morning, Mr. Mark Mardon. Or do you prefer the other name, Weather Wizard?" And I'll tell you a little bit more about Weather Wizard in time. And who the hell are you? A bit silly, don't you think? Like your costume. Nice of us to put you back in the old one for the duration of your stay. My name is Gregory Wolf. I'm the warden of this fine establishment. And by the way, if you read this comic, man, it's so intense. It's so freaking intense. Like, it's edgy like hell, man. Jeff Johns does some pretty good stuff. I've read your dossier, Wizard, a petty burglar on his way to prison. You managed to escape. You tried to seek refuge with your older brother, a promising meteorologist. But when you arrive, you find out that Daryl old bro has just stumbled upon a secret you killed him for. I didn't kill my brother. He was dead when I got there, a heart attack. Yes, I read that in your court transcript. They couldn't prove anything. How do you do it, Wizard? Chloral hydrate? Ricin? Or was that the first thing you did when you got your hands on his climate-bending invention, the weather wand? Was stopping your brother's heart the first act of the weather wand? I didn't kill my... Something wrong? Of course, he's tightening up, right? He's in pain. You're what I call a weed wizard. You've been caught dozens of times and escaped dozens of times. My arms, muscles, tense. That ends now. This prison is not a revolving door. It is not here for your benefit. There is no rehabilitation program. No therapist to cry about daddy's physical abuse or mom's drug dependencies. We don't care. You chose this path regardless. You will be placed in the pipeline with other masks, the other super villains. You will wear that ridiculous costume for one reason and one reason only. If the guards ever see a mask outside of their cell, no matter where that prisoner may be, they will shoot to kill, as I will. Yeah, that motherfucker is dread. Yeah, Mr. Gregory Wolf. He's the warden of Iron Heights Prison. The prison that Henry Allen is in. And by the way, this is this is Weather Wizard, where the Flash has to protect Linda. He says, "Stay back, Linda. The Weather Wizard's out for blood." Okay, that's the Weather Wizard. And yes, he has escaped many a prison. And people have escaped Iron Heights. Okay, but this is the background of Iron Heights. People like Black Lightning have been part and put wrongfully so into Iron Heights prison. Okay, Black Lightning, Gorilla Grodd has been in Iron Heights prison. It's a killer. Gorilla Grodd is a freaking killer, man. Just for you guys who don't know, okay? And remember, these are super-powered beings. And of course, almost, well, at least from Suicide Squad, he seemed friendly, but he's not really. He's a racist Aussie. We're talking about, of course, none other than Captain Boomerang. Yeah, this guy. You saw him in Suicide Squad. Yeah, he's also been in Iron Heights prison, and a number of others like Captain Cole. You name them, they're there. A lot of superpower villains have been in Iron Heights prison. Generally Flash villains, because the Flash puts them in Iron Heights. But until the Flash visited Iron Heights, he did not know what were the rules of Iron Heights. And Iron Heights is a rough joint to be in. I'm just telling you right now, it's rough. Okay, so Henry Allen's having a rough time in there. I can tell you that. Now, the CW has on the Arrowverse has shown Iron Heights prison, as well as the CW Flash has been. The CW Flash himself, Barry Allen, has been in Iron Heights prison as a prisoner. So that's also interesting. This is Arrowverse's Iron Heights prison. So I just wanted to share all of this with you guys, man, because I thought, man, you know, it's really cool this Easter egg, what you see in Justice League, is a tribute to Iron Heights Prison, which is where people from Central City, as well as I forgot the other place. It just disappeared from me. It's another city. I forgot the name of it. They go to that prison. All right. So that's comic book accurate. I love how it was an Easter egg. It wasn't put there so you saw Iron Heights Prison, you know, like how, you know, Arkham Asylum was, you know, declared, or Belle Reve Prison was declared, and Suicide Squad. No, this was done separately. All right, let me show you something else I put up on social media. This is just for the YouTube community. And you get the benefit of me explaining a lot of stuff. So I hope you enjoy. So here we saw in Justice League, Batman, and he basically uses his bat rope and ties up this common thief who had stolen some stuff from a house on a rooftop. Now, what's interesting about that is, besides him grappling the thief with his batarang and just really tying him up, not just tying him, he tied him up from his neck to his hands to his feet. The guy was really tied up rather rapidly by Batman. But what's cool about it is this thief can barely move. He has to hop around, which was very funny. And the way how Batman treats a thief or a criminal is, you know, people were astonished that Batman was actually answered the thief when the thief said, "What is that?" And he said, "A scout." You know, people were actually astonished that Batman even answered the thief. But how Batman treats criminals, let me just be honest with you guys, is the wrong way to treat a criminal. First of all, that's illegal, but he does. He's very abusive to criminals. In this case, when he uses the criminal as bait. Oh my God, that is just so unethical. He's using the criminal as bait to catch a hungry parademon so he could examine it. Look, folks, if you really think about Batman, Batman breaks every single freaking rule of arrest. All right, think about what just happened. Think about the beginning of Justice League. All right, think about what just happened there. I don't know how you guys think about that, but that's just totally unethical what Batman did. He tied up the criminal. He's using him. He didn't arrest him. He didn't arrest his ass. No, he's going to use him as bait for What happens if the parademon grabs onto the guy and starts eating him? Batman's just going to pry him apart. A half-eaten robber, and he's going to go after the parademon? Freaking Batman, man. Dude is just totally unethical. He's using the dude as bait to catch a parademon. Oh my God. Anyways, so Batman ties up the dude, and the dude's like, "What do you want from me? What do you want from me?" He's like, hey, you know, Batman, he only got like one syllable words. He doesn't answer much. He doesn't talk much. Bruce may talk more than Batman because Batman don't really do much talking. That's another thing about Batman. Batman doesn't care about that. Like, he's just like, you will not get Batman into an argument. You know how I remember some people was, you know, put out this meme about Black Panther, and they were saying, you know, that you know, Black Panther, man, Batman doesn't have a great mask like this. You think Batman would actually answer that? Batman would just look at, like, that meme would have been answered by Batman like this. Like, he would say absolutely nothing, you know, because Batman don't give a fuck about that. Batman don't care. Batman only cares about one thing: going after criminals. He does not care about his personal image. Batman is not motivated by that. Batman doesn't have a problem being the bad guy. You know, and think about it. I'm like, you know, that's the intriguing thing about Batman. Batman is a character to himself, man. Dude really is he's a little bit crazy, man. But then again, the Looney Tunes that he has to deal with, he has to be a little bit crazy. And so here he is on the verge of hanging this guy. He's had the guy like on the edge, and he's trying to get the guy to be afraid, because this is, you know, Batman's all about that. He's about instilling fear in the heart of criminals. So what do you think he's doing? Yeah, absolutely. He's trying to get this guy to get as afraid as possible to drive a parademon to come after him, to eat his ass. Y'all, that's good. Yeah, I know you guys don't really. If you process what you just saw on the screen, just put a police officer there and let that be a black person on the end of that bat rope, and you will see how wrong that is on all kinds of levels. It's just wrong. It's morally wrong. Okay. All right. That's why Batman's not a cop. It's just wrong. But that's not the point I really wanted to share here. But I just wanted to elaborate on just how freaking crazy Batman is. And he's on the edge all the time. Like this dude, he straddles that line between good and bad. Batman's on the cusp of evil, and you count on him to do the right thing. But in BVS, he started to cross that line, and everybody was like, "Oh man, but Batman has one rule." They started to bitch and moan because they realized, what the hell? Because we accept that Batman's a superhero. He's not. He's more of an anti-hero, okay? And he's an asshole. Big time. This shows you that. We like that he's an asshole. It's like, oh, the thief's an asshole. He's taking what he shouldn't be taking. So yeah, an asshole should deal with an asshole. But at the end of the day, he is an asshole. And this is what we like about him. You know, anyway, what I really wanted to share with you guys was the fact that Batman here, he's bound up a human criminal. What's interesting about that, and if you go into comic lore and everything, you will find a parallel with Batman and Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman also uses her lasso to bind people. I remember, but her lasso makes you tell the truth. It's a bit sadistic if you ask me, if you think about it. But the point is, she makes you tell the truth, whether you want to or not. In other words, Wonder Woman is kind of like Batman. In many ways, as much as she is a beacon of love and stuff, she will kill your ass. As much as she's kind and compassionate towards people who do wrong, she will compel you to tell the truth. She's kind of like the massaging part of Batman, who's an asshole. She's not an asshole, and you're always firmly behind her. But if you think about it, she's doing basically the same thing Batman does, just in a less asshole-ish way. She's not much of an asshole doing it. And that's interesting to me. And so I thought, look at this. Wonder Woman's also binding the terrorist. His hands are at his side. He can't use his hands. And there's a metaphor to that. And that metaphor is you're incapable of doing anything. Usually your hands is a metaphor for doing something. So this guy, he's bound and he's incapable of doing anything. He's imprisoned. He's incapable. And Batman didn't just bind his hands. He bound his feet. He couldn't go anywhere either. To me, that's just freaking hilarious. Batman bound this guy from the top to the bottom. The only thing he didn't bind was his mouth. Oh my God, Batman's a trip. And Wonder Woman, this guy couldn't go anywhere either because she lifted him off the ground. So that's just funny to me, okay? You're gonna excuse me. It's funny as hell. So in the case of the terrorists, they had a God complex. They were playing God. And so Wonder Woman pulls them up to the godlike level, but she binds them. And she's forcing them to tell the truth. And the guy's looking down at the lasso, wondering what the fuck just what the hell just happened? What's going on? Which that's what Wonder Woman does. She makes you wonder. You're always filled with awe and wonder around Wonder Woman. He's like, where the hell did you come from? What the hell is this? What the hell's going on? I was just down below. I thought I was getting control of everything. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm answering to a higher power. What the heck? You know what I'm saying? And this is a metaphor for God. There's always something greater than us. Lest we feel for some reason or the other that we are the be all and end all of everything. No, motherfucker, you got to leave the world. There's somebody much more powerful than you are. I always remember that. I remember there's a saying that says, you know, when you feel you're the baddest man on the planet, there's somebody badder than you somewhere, you know? So I just thought that was cool. I wanted to add that in. But both Wonder Woman and Batman, they capture or secure humans, because both of these guys are humans. And they're very much superior to them. And if you look at it, in Wonder Woman, there was a warehouse fight scene. In Batman v Superman, Batman had a warehouse fight scene to save. Batman was saving Martha. Wonder Woman was saving the villagers. There's these parallels between them. And I thought that was just so interesting that I would share it with you guys. And of course, Wonder Woman is a warrior. She's the greatest warrior the world has ever known. And Batman, he ain't slack at fighting. He's skilled in all kinds of arts. Of course, he didn't have a millennia to learn how to do that shit. She had like 800 years. So I don't think he should pick a fight with her. I'm just saying. Besides, she's super strong and all of that shit. I don't think he should pick a fight with her, okay? And I think he figures, he pretty much knows she could kill him. You know, she's stronger than him, if you didn't know. So, yeah. Here's another one. This time Batman he's grabbing onto a parademon. Again, he's binding the hands. And it's a metaphor. If you bind the hands of any creature, or a creature that is bipedal, that is, he has 2 feet, not 4, he's not walking on all 4, then the hands can't claw you, they can't scratch you. Animals go up on their hind limbs like bears, and they come at you and intimidate you. So if you bind the hands, now he just had to watch out for the head, and it's biting him, and it was trying to, and he was watching it in his eye. But he bound the parademon to capture it, and he eventually captured it, which is amazing. He used a net to secure it to a wall, which was so sick to see him do that with the grappling gun. The grappling gun could shoot a net on top of that. Man, that's freaking crazy. And I like how they naturally use the technology in Justice League that a lot of people also took for granted. Like Batman says to Alfred, "Are you seeing this, Alfred?" You understand it's Batman's technology on his suit that's allowing Alfred to see what Batman is seeing. But it's so natural that you don't even question that shit. Whereas when I remember the Dark Knight trilogy, you know, they highlight every single tech that Batman has. This tech and that tech and this tech and that tech. In Justice League, you can read the behind the scenes about the tech. You know, the Nightcrawler is crazy, man. That shit is crazy. The Batmobile and the big troop carrier, they're all crazy. But in the movie, for the purpose of the story, you don't need to know about the tech like that. And I found that so cool that they went with story over tech. Love that. But yeah, back to what I was saying. Batman, he grabs the parademon and binds its hands to its sides as he flies up in the air. And if you look here, Wonder Woman, she lassoed Doomsday. Freaking Doomsday she lassoed. And she had his hands again bound to his side so the hands couldn't move. All Doomsday could do probably was blast her with his eyes. And he didn't do it because he was at the point in time incapacitated because his hand was growing back. And he was regenerating. And it's so interesting that, of course, Batman hit him with that these, again, are parallels. Wonder Woman securing Doomsday, Batman securing the parademon. Again, they do the same thing. And I just find that these parallels between Batman and Wonder Woman make sense because that's why they pair up. Like he and she, they're pairing up and doing things together. It makes sense that he and she start the League. He and she are now extending the League and getting a Hall of Justice going and stuff like that. That they're pairing up. And even he can talk with her because they kind of have a similar way of doing things and a similar past. And I thought I would highlight that in the meme and go a little further here in this live stream. I don't know how many comments you guys have, so I'm going to come out of this for a second. I'll go back into it and continue onwards with what else I want to say. There's something else I want to say. Or maybe let me go with that. And then we're really going to go into comparing, contrasting Suicide Squad with Justice League, but we'll get to that in a minute. But here I just do a quick summary of it so you can see how they treated aliens. And of course, Wonder Woman had the much more powerful alien in Doomsday. And then we see how they treat human beings. It's just very interesting how they both treat them very similarly. There are, of course, slight differences in terms of their approach to things. You know, Batman's much more overt and he's much more aggressive, and he's willing to break more laws. He's not as compassionate. And clearly Wonder Woman is much more powerful. All right, so let me just go into the next thing I wanted to talk about. So if you do remember, in Man of Steel, Kal-El, here he's coming out of it's kind of like a Fortress of Solitude, but it's really the Kryptonian ship. He's coming out of the Kryptonian ship somewhere near to the North Pole. And from Jor-El, he learns his purpose and he becomes Superman. Of course, in BVS, Superman is tested. He learns he can't save the world alone, and he dies under the pressure of that. But in Justice League, Kal-El re-emerges from a Kryptonian, maybe the same Kryptonian ship, which is now in Metropolis. It could be the same Kryptonian ship, but he emerges from it as Superman Reborn, the rebirth of Superman. And the last image of Justice League says volumes. And I want to give credit to a gentleman who's with me on Facebook. His name is Nicholas Rises. He has his own website as well, where he breaks down these movies. And I want to credit him very highly for what I'm about to show you, because this blew my mind. I didn't even see it before. This is his thing. This is what he actually discovered. And I decided to share it with all of you guys on this live stream, which is this. So before Superman goes out in his suit in BVS, this is the birthing of Superman that we know, wearing the costume. Jor-El tells him what the symbol of the House of El means. In other words, Jor-El reveals to Kal his heritage and his destiny. He reveals to him his Kryptonian heritage and his Kryptonian destiny, the new Kryptonian destiny that Jor-El had in store for him, which is to give hope to mankind as both a Kryptonian, this is his heritage from Krypton, and also as a human, even though he's not human. And at the end of Man of Steel, Kal-El finally embodies that concept. And you see him pull back his shirt, just as how Jor-El pulled back his shirt. The image is so powerful and searing to me that I had to share this with you guys. And it's brilliant what Zack Snyder did. It's brilliant. So Nicholas goes on to say, when Kal-El finally fully accepts it and becomes comic book Superman, there he is pulling open his shirt and revealing the House of El, hope. And it's just so awesome. I can watch this forever. Shout out again to Nicholas for this. If you're watching, Nicholas, thank you so very much. So I wanted to share those things with you guys before I get into the other stuff that I want to talk to you guys about, which is Suicide Squad, which is where we're going to discuss Justice League and Suicide Squad. Let me just, first of all, go back to the comment section and see what you guys are saying, all right? Let me stop this. All right, I'm going to the comment section to see what you guys are saying right now. Woo, okay. W. Muir says, what up? Notoriety Magazine says, this will, long time. Correct. Yeah, Will. So what's up, William? It's nice to see you, man. It's nice to see you here. And if you want to join the hangout, bro, you can join the hangout. William Muir, what's up, brother? It's nice to see you. It's 2:01 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, where I am at. I think it's Atlantic Standard Time. I don't know. It's Caribbean anyway. I think we go with Atlantic Standard Time. So it's 2:01 p.m. where I'm at. And what's up with you guys? We're going to go now into the discussion about Suicide Squad and Justice League. Trust me, man. There's a lot to say and a lot to unpack with that. Anybody who wants to join me in the Hangout section, once again, I'm open to you guys joining in the Hangout. The link is up above. Don't be afraid. Don't be bashful. Don't be shy to join the Hangout. I'm happy to have you guys on board. They're just simple rules to the Hangout. Once you join the Hangout, mute your microphone. Okay, you can choose to show your channel image, or you can choose to show your face, like how I'm showing my face right now. You can choose to do that. It's up to you. Excuse me. What you want to do. So whatever you choose to do, it's fine by me. I am happy to have you in the Hangout. I love to have people in the Hangout with me, other views and other point of views. I don't necessarily like doing monologues all the time. Ooh, I got somebody. Who is this? Hello.
Yo, what's up? Answer this, Will. I'm trying to make it.
Yeah, man. What's up, William?
I'm doing all right, man. As long as my Iraqi internet hangs in, I'm with you, man. Long time, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been a pleasure to have you and talk with you all the time. You're so deep, man. And right now what we're gonna do in this segment. But if you have any comments on what you saw just now, please share it with us. You know what I'm saying? What do you think about what I showed there in the memes and stuff? Man, I love what Nicholas Rises did there. Yeah.
Oh man, here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you what, man. My mind is blown because what you have in it, especially when you talk about Superman, you're talking about how things are cyclical. You know how you have a larval state, then you go to a cocoon, and you come out as a butterfly.
Yeah,
it's
that's BVS, the cocoon.
Yeah, it goes back to our many discussions, and when Zack Snyder first presented Man of Steel, for the DCEU, what he said was that I want to challenge the character. I want to put him through a crucible or a trial where you see growth, because the Superman that people claim to know and love, it's not relatable if somebody just starts out that way. And so what happens is that to get to that level of enlightenment is a particular evolution.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love it.
And it doesn't it doesn't happen without trial. And on the internet now, kind of what you get when it comes to the DCEU is you get a lot of intellectual dishonesty, because a lot of people actually see where this stuff is going. They do actually get it, but the idea is that I guess I don't know how things work now when you talk about ratings and views and all of these other things, but what it does is that it gives people a comparison, and it has something to create controversy, And so again, I'm not against any other studios or the films that they make, but at the end of the day, art should be variety. They shouldn't all somewhat be the same kind of homogeneous product, so to speak.
You know what I love about BVS? The best part of BVS? The best part of BVS is the fact that you can't save the world alone. It made the point. It was the prequel to Justice League. You couldn't get the Justice League if Superman couldn't save the world alone. And he had to die for people to value him so we could have the birth of this league, which Superman is. It represents what Superman is all about. So, it's great. And then you get so much more depth about the characters. Batman, we get to really delve, because Zack Snyder, there's a lot of things people say about Superman which are wrong. Like people say, with Man of Steel, it was a darker Superman, and this Superman is different to the Superman of the comics and the Superman you've seen in Christopher. No, it's the same Superman. What they don't get is he's placed in a situation you've never seen Superman in.
Correct.
It's the situation that's different. Zack challenged him and challenged the ideology that he represents. Hope was on trial throughout this trilogy. Hope was on trial.
Right. But here's the thing, though. When here's what people don't get. We say that on my planet it means hope. But the thing about it is that why is hope? Why is hope such a symbol that Zack Snyder put in it when people talk the DCU is dark? But what's the value of hope without despair?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like this old song, joy and pain, sunshine
And
and
rain.
rain. You can't. So
Black
again,
and blue. Remember Black and Blue? Lex Luthor.
Yes.
Black and blue.
Yeah, black and blue, day and night. And so the thing about it is that you can't tell these stories without contrast. And what I'm trying to tell a lot of people is that, again, it was something that was layered. But the problem is that there's intellectual dishonesty, and perhaps today in today's world, people don't like. You're not in the way where people want to think through things. You're in a world now. You're in a world now where attention spans are very short. And so, again, what you want is, so for certain studios, that's why they're successful, because what happens is that it's just raw entertainment with great moments that kind of keep you on the beat. That's why people now on the internet complain of things about like pacing, so to speak. But what's the funny thing about that is that these same people will cut the DCEU, but Star Wars also has a lot of exposition, because Star Wars is heavily weighted in spirituality and spirituality and politics. So Star Wars in and of itself has a lot of exposition. And so my thing is that, how is it that you can understand it on this particular platform but not the other one? And so when you go to like Batman v Superman, again, this was an intellectual debate. It wasn't Batman versus Superman like a fight.
No. It was never a versus film. It was that's the thing. That's why Zach put V. He didn't put versus. He didn't put VS. He put V. It's
exactly. But this is what I'm trying to say. So again, what was on trial was perspectives, ideologies, philosophies. This is what was on trial.
Yeah, I love the song that was playing. It's so, man, Zach is so crazy, man. He was playing the song Night and Day. You remember Night and Day, you are the one, right? That song, yes. While Lex Luthor just finished his conversation on why, knowledge with power, knowledge supposed to be with power, because he's supposed to have power because he has all that knowledge, right? And then the funny thing is, in the middle of that, Batman is approaching Wonder Woman. When the song Night and Day, yes. It's crazy. You get it? He's approaching Wonder Woman. I'm not talking about Superman. I'm
telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. I'm walking with you, man. But I'm walking, bro. I am walking with you completely. But this is what I'm trying to say. And so again, when you look at people like Lex Luthor and Batman, the mere existence of Superman, like Jonathan Kent says, it challenges what they believe.
Oh yeah.
And Jonathan Kent understood what the world was like and what men would do when they feel threatened.
Especially men with power.
When they feel threatened. Especially with the man with power. So when you look at, if you look at a being like Superman, for people like Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor, my wealth, look at the metaphors, right? For these guys, their wealth and their power is tapped into the physical world, but Superman's wealth or his power is tapped into the spiritual.
That's what Batman was saying. That's what Batman was saying. He said, he in spite of all that power, he's a man like us. He gets a job. He falls in love. In spite of all that power, now he's more human than me.
Yes, correct. So for Lex Luthor, when he was saying that knowledge is power, again, he was, in a sense, to me, he was discussing Superman, because it's paradox. It doesn't make sense to me that you have all of this power and you don't demand the things that I would demand.
Right. Exactly. So, but you know how to sneak in? Because she's a sleeper, man. Wonder Woman. She was a sleeper in that movie. She was pivotal to Batman's mind change. She shunned the rays of light into Batman. That's why when he came back in Justice League and he was saying, how come we never heard about you? He said, you make people see their better selves. Remember he said that to her?
Yes.
But I never heard about you.
Yes.
And he said, how did he know? He personally knows she made him a better person. He personally knows that.
Correct, because what Wonder Woman has, I went to Gal Gadot's Twitter, and
Right.
what Wonder Woman showed me, even as an adult, Gal Gadot, Zack Snyder's Wonder Woman, what it showed me was the power of love outside of romance, which
Right.
a lot of people have not seen. Because I didn't. When you look at Wonder Woman, for all the years that I've been living, I never realized that genuine love comes with insight and discernment. So have you noticed that Wonder Woman could kind of look at people and give insight and discernment, to circumstances, and that all came from her genuine concern.
Right. And the cool thing about her, that's why I said Night and Day. The song Night and Day was playing You Are the One. It's talking about she was the one for Bruce. it's really, it's so clever how they did that stuff. Because she goes and steals the stuff from Bruce. She's been watching him.
Yes.
She stole the stuff from him. And it's only when they had that conversation in the place with the sword thing. I forgot what they call it. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. Where they you get all the choreography, you get all that antiques and that kind of thing.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, yes, correct. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And she's clever. She's clever, man. So he tries to say, you took something from me that's not polite, and she's like, so it's wrong to steal. What did you say? Is it okay to steal from another thief or some kind of thing like that? Which it's so clever because it means so many.
I'm listening.
Yeah, it means so many different things. She's saying in one breath, which is brilliant. She's saying Lex Luthor stole from me. She explains that later. Lex Luthor stole from me, so it's okay for me to steal back my stuff from him. And two, she's saying I stole from you, and you were stealing from Lex Luthor. So what are you talking about? She's saying all that in one sentence. You know what I'm saying? I like that. I love that. I just love it, man. And I think he's like shocked. He's like watching her in wonder, which he's supposed to. She's Wonder Woman. He's watching her in wonder, like, who is this woman? Like what everybody says.
But I'm telling you what, but what was great about BVS? I remember when BVS first came out. It was a week before it hit theaters. And I'll never forget, many of the internet personalities that people may follow. And on their first viewing, one of the first things that many people said was, it was heavy.
Yeah.
That was their first reaction, was that it was heavy. You know what I'm saying? And, before they got to tearing it down, because they didn't know what to make of it.
Yes, a lot of people came out of the movie saying, I'm so excited. They came out saying, I don't know what to think of this movie.
Exactly. They didn't know what to think, because what happened was they walked in thinking they were gonna have this rock'em sock'em kind of experience. Right. But what that movie challenged, and I had to debate my friends, and they were talking about, well, William, it was the way that it was marketed. I said, no, again, it was Batman v Superman. It wasn't Batman versus Superman. Again, and who will win? To include the fact that, unless you want a real comic booky route, Batman is not going to fight Superman for 3 or 4 rounds and actually live to tell about it. That's not the case.
It ain't going to even last a moment.
Exactly.
He just incinerated him with the breath.
That's what Superman said. If I wanted to kill you, you'd be dead already. It's not. Nope. So again, the thing about it was that it was getting through a mindset. Like, I know a lot of people make fun of it on the internet, but I'm telling you, that part in Justice League, when Superman showed up for the fight for Steppenwolf and Batman smiled, for me, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that in Justice League, because for a lot of people, I understand for many people, there's the fantasy element of these heroes, but if you look at them as real people, I was glad to see towards the end of Justice League that Bruce Wayne was no longer living a life of hate, fear, and seclusion for the sake of my entertainment. I was glad to see that character on some level was set free from that curse.
Right. Man, Bruce Wayne, he wasn't the only one that smiled. The Flash smiled when he first saw Superman, because that's his idol. Cyborg Cyborg relaxed and finally smiled. We hadn't seen Cyborg smile for the entire movie. He smiled when he saw his father, right? And then, of course, the representative of Earth from Russia, the father who said somebody would come and save us, he actually scratches his head and smiles as he watches off into the horizon at all the beautiful flowers and everything. And to me, that was a payoff for all of those guys. For all of those guys.
Correct.
Cyborg was a tortured soul.
Correct.
The Flash was, you know, he was alone and stuff. So he was the he might have been comic relief, but honestly, if I was him, I'd be the same way, because if I went through a life of hell, I'm trying to help my father who's wrongly convicted, you know, that's a shit life. And you finally meet your heroes? Are you serious? Dude, I'm geeking straight through the whole movie.
Yeah, man. I mean, come on, like, you know,
that's a dream come true.
Correct. No, man, you actually, like I said, what they did, you know, again, what happened here, again, a lot of it was totally ingenious. But many people, like I said, again, many people, they, you know, you have people that just wanted to hold on to a narrative or hold on to an idea. So at the end of the day, what Zack Snyder is guilty of is that he removed the fantasy of these characters and gave you the reality of it. Absolutely. And for a lot of people, that's a shock. So, for example, if you want to take Superman, you know, again, you people say, no, Superman was a somber, but again, he didn't have a place. Hence that statement, the birds of the air have their nests. Men have their homes, but the Son of Man haveth no place to lay his head. You know, you can't, you know, the journey for any man that ever existed that has dramatically changed the world. Do you think that Abraham Lincoln knew where everything was going to end up? Do you think that he was happy and hopeful and inspirational? If I could have recorded the speeches of Abraham Lincoln, I could make a 15-minute clip, and you would think that Abraham Lincoln was the most hopeful person on earth, but he didn't have a clue. Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing with the Civil War? Should there be slavery? Am I going to destroy the nation? Same thing with Martin Luther King. Am I leading my people into a burning house? Am I doing the right thing? Should we pick up arms? Same thing with Mahatma Gandhi or a lot of other figures throughout history. And the funny part,
even people love Spider-Man.
Is this?
Sorry, my bad. You go ahead.
No. It's cool, because the funny thing about these figures is this: with human beings, people didn't see their worth until they died. This is the same thing with Superman. So Superman, like Martin Luther King and others, they were hopeful people in a cynical world, suffered severe criticism, and the world did not bother to sober to their message until they were killed.
Exactly. And you know what's interesting? You look at all the epics. You look at Lord of the Rings. You look at Gladiator. You look at Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And it was tragedies, and it was a serious story, and it was a questioning and challenging the hope within the hero and main protagonist. Always challenge. Yes. That's what makes the movies great, because you have to overcome to get back in that mental place where you're hopeful. So I don't understand how this movie, Man of Steel, is any different to that. And if anything, I think these heroes are more meaningful and something that we could actually use in our personal lives, like you were saying, Mahatma Gandhi.
But the thing is, like I said, Anson, the thing is that because I was talking to one of my younger cousins, and we were talking about like the same topic of DC and Marvel, and I was telling him, like, okay, we're talking about, like, we were talking about BVS, for example, and I told him is that you went in ready to dislike the film,
right?
So for these, I said again, everything from the internet and all of that stuff, or what you're hearing, you went in ready to dislike the film, because many people in today's world they have a mob mentality. So if you go back to when I was a kid, none of this stuff was cool. Then all of a sudden it became mainstream, and now everybody goes to see these films.
Right.
If you, so you don't, again, you were in the minority. And so for a lot of people, what they kind of do is they kind of get like a somewhat of a hive mindset. And I'm certain if these people were to actually sit down, watch this stuff, and really think about it, because at the end of the day, and I was talking to one of my younger friends, and I was like, DC, Marvel, Sony. I said, man, I love all of this stuff. And I
Yeah.
said, I remember being a young comic book reader when all of this stuff was fantasy. I mean, and why can't we just enjoy it? And then he goes on to say, well, just because it's being made doesn't mean it's not subject to criticism. And I said, but here's the difference. What you guys are doing is that you guys are taking flaws in storytelling, which all storytelling has flaws. And what you're doing is that you're ripping it apart with such a visceral hate. Because whether you go across DC, Marvel, or whatever, none of these films are really bad. Nobody. So you're not making, there were, before the technology kicked in, you had these types of films that were really bad, answering the story, the special effects, and everything else. So what you have right now is either something that's really good or something that's just okay.
Right.
And so and I said the problem with your generation is that there's no such thing as perfection. When you're looking at any kind of story. So I said, if I wanted to, I could find a reason not to like Marvel films. Like I told my cousin, I said, for example, Civil War is senseless as a movie. And he said, why is that, William? Okay, well, the film was based upon them signing the Sokovia Accords, which would put them under the monitoring of governments. He said, correct. However, if you watch Captain America Winter Soldier, the movie before it, the U.S. government and S.H.I.E.L.D. was infiltrated by Hydra. So with that being said, if Hydra could infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D. and the U.S. government, what's the UN or anything else? So why does that movie Civil War need to even take place? There was nothing to fight over based upon the events of Winter Soldier.
Exactly. Wow.
So if I wanted to tear
Oh my
Marvel
God.
down, this is what I'm saying.
You just destroyed the whole premise of the movie right there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my God.
and so what happened? In that film, Captain America and Winter Soldier, Captain America was upset with Nick Fury about not telling him about Bucky. And then Captain America turns around and does the same thing to Iron Man in Civil War by not telling him how Bucky was the one that killed his parents.
All right. Whoa. William, we need to stop. I don't want to bash. I don't want to bash.
No.
Oh my God. That's terrible.
No, I'm not a basher.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna reel it in. But what I am trying to say is that if you want to find holes in anything, you can always find it. I went to Civil War. I saw Civil War in the movie 7 to 8 times.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, when Winter Soldier came out, I think I saw that 10 times in the theater. I couldn't get enough of it. And this is what I'm trying to say. And so for today's audience, if you want to find a reason, and this is what I'm trying to say, there's this kind of vicious spirit that's out where people are just looking for reasons to tear holes and stuff.
Yeah, partisanship.
When at the end of the day, for me, a great story is in the beauty of the message that it has.
And once it stays consistent more or less with the comics, I'm cool. I mean, the real comics. I'm not talking about no comic book TV show or comics. Keep it based in the comics. I'm cool. I mean, you don't have, it's an adaptation, so I don't expect it to be identical. You got creative freedom, and once it's a good story and I can follow it, you know what I'm saying? And I gotta say again, I still feel like I'm somewhat partisan, and that I'm partisan towards the DCEU because I don't really necessarily appreciate all the Marvel movies I've seen. The only one now there are 2 Marvel movies I've watched. I just watched Captain America: The First Avenger again. It is one of my favorite Marvel movies. And then
correct.
My my first favorite Marvel movie of all time now. In the MCU. In the MCU. Black Panther. That's a great movie, man. That's a great movie, in my opinion. I love that movie.
Yeah, but it feels like a DC movie.
yeah. I mean, it has a message, man. It has a. Oh my God, I gotta unpack that movie. That'll take a little while. Star Wars: The Last Jedi and that movie, I gotta unpack them because I love those movies. I love it.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi was loaded, and this is it was loaded, and this is, and you know, again, and I know that we're talking about the DCEU, and this is what I'm trying to say in terms of people doing themselves a disservice, because I'm going to tell you this though, for Zack Snyder, I enjoy Superman, I enjoy Batman and Wonder Woman, but if I could talk to Zack Snyder now, I would tell him, of all the characters that you put your hands on, that Lex Luthor is something deep and it's something furious.
Oh my God, but you know Lex Luthor is his favorite villain. Zack Snyder's favorite
for Zack Snyder.
Yeah, his favorite villain is Lex Luthor.
That Lex Luthor is the best interpretation of Lex Luthor today. Oh my God! At the end of Justice League, when he said, "I'm just celebrating God's return from the ground back to the skies," you know, again, you know, it relays how Lex Luthor perceives Superman, how he, you know, again, like it's just, oh my God, it's just so layered. And with this Lex Luthor, I personally feel that Zack Snyder has outdone himself. And if the audience were to, because we're living in a world now where movies aren't just movies, they're franchises. And if the audience would allow themselves to give that character a chance to progress, I really believe that going forward, you will be hard pressed not to say that Jesse Eisenberg is the greatest Lex Luthor of all time.
Oh, he's the great. I think he's better than the Joker. I think he's the best villain of all time. He's gonna be the best. No, let me tell you why. Because when Lex Luthor says something, there's so many ways to interpret that one thing he says. And Lex Luthor is so layered, man, that he's a scary dude, man. He's scary. I think he's an evil.
And you know what's so funny?
I know he hates Superman. I know he hates Superman. No. I still feel like
scary.
Yeah, I feel
I'm listening.
He could move to the side of good for evil intentions. Like he would do good for evil intentions. I feel he would do something like that, you know. But I know he's Superman. Like I know
but no, I absolutely loved it, especially when the senator came to visit him.
Oh my God!
And when she said, "I'm gonna reject your license," and his mood just changed.
Yeah.
He went into that Paul Revere metaphor. And I mean, oh my goodness. And then he said, "You know what, Senator? I was thinking about changing that painting because maybe it's upside down."
I thought he was going to kill her, though. I thought he was going to kill her at that moment. But
no, and what I like is she said, you could call me what? She said, you know, you could pee in a cup and call it Granny's peach tea. And then when they went to the courtroom and when she turned the jar around and it said, I mean, come on. And I know for the people that may watch this video, I know we're not like digging deep, but it's just there's so many concepts that you could just sit for days on and ponder, between Man of Steel, actually through the entire DCEU. There's just so much stuff that you could sit down and ponder, and it's actually ingenious.
Oh man, I mean, Zack outdid himself with those movies, man. Got Easter eggs. He did everything tribute to the comics. And Jeff Johns, he gave a tribute to Jeff Johns too, in a way, because Jeff Johns just generally added to certain characters like Cyborg, and it's so. The only thing I have to say is I wish that, you know, in certain respects, Zack could have just gotten the chance to just really breathe through the whole story and just give the full thing for Justice League. Sometimes I look in retrospect and I'm saying, oh my God, look what he just touched on Cyborg here. He just touched on Cyborg.
Yes.
You know, he gave the glimpse of what Cyborg is, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, damn, I wish people could just see who Cyborg is. Like, because I'm a huge Cyborg fan. So Cyborg's so much more than people think. And the thing about Cyborg is he's ever evolving. So that's a crazy concept. People don't understand. Cyborg, he's a hero right now, but he can be a villain very easily. Like Cyborg can turn into a villain.
Correct. Actually,
man. It's crazy.
Correct. And my thing is this: I really believe, especially once he was exposed to the mother box technology again.
Right.
What I really believe, like, so for example, I truly believe, like, because people say that in the Zack Snyder's version he got killed, but my thing was that he would reboot, but when he rebooted, he would have came back as the Grid. In terms of what would have happened was the computer side of him would have reanimated first, and then the consciousness would have came back as a result of it.
Because you can't kill Cyborg; he's not killable.
Yeah. No, you can't. Like I said, So you can't kill him. So what happened was that he would have reanimated, and then I would like, and maybe they're saving that for another film, but I would like to see him have that struggle between that and then between the computer side and his human side.
I would love to see that separate from him. I would love to see he sound like David. He's like
exactly what, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I would love to see. Yep, I would love to see the Grid separate from him.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. That'd be crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because he's like Bruce Banner and the Hulk in a way, in that he's got this humanity and he's got this extra entity inside of him. It's actually two entities. And you saw a piece of it where the Grid went out of control, where he was talking about, his armor's defense system, since the interface, he can't control it. You remember when he said that? And he fired, man. Correct. That was the Grid doing that.
Yes, correct. And when he said, "I'm hearing another voice,"
right? Voices in my head. Alien. That's right. Oh my God!
And it's alien. And he said, we talk about the next alien invasion, and I'm afraid I might be it.
Exactly. Firestorm's another cool one. Dual identity in one body. I love to see Firestorm come out. It's some crazy stuff.
Yeah. But what Zack Snyder did was genius by saying that Superman is the beginning of this new age, and that's what I really I really like that. So I really like the idea of that. Using Superman as a trilogy, and the birth of the Justice League was centered around the events of what happened with Superman. I love that idea.
It's a great idea, man. That's why Superman's the head of the Justice League, in the sense of they encapsulate his ideology, that's what they show. And
Correct.
Batman's the leader and Wonder Woman's the leader. They're the ones that kind of were inspired by Superman to make these moves. But really, Superman is the center of the Justice League. He's kind of what they represent.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So he's more of the spirit of the team, or a spokesman, and I like that he's more of a spirit team of the spokesman, but he's not the actual leader of the league.
No, he's not. Well, let me go to the comment section, and then I want to go into.
I'm listening.
I'm going to go into the comment section in the chats, and also we really want to discuss Justice League in terms of Suicide Squad, because there's some fantastic concepts in there, and we're going to discuss it right now. Let me just go to the chat section here. I'm just acknowledging some people. Of course, you, Nerdarati, you said long time, correct? Yes. Leroy Kong says, hello, great live video. Sorry I'm late. The DCU movies are really, really great. Justice League ends its run at over 657.9 million. Very well done. DCU is alive and well. Again, great video. Game Video Vision Quest says, I'm really glad to find other people who like these movies. I love the DCU movies, and he's grinning. Leroy Cohen says, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Justice League, a brilliant trilogy. And he says, Justice League is my #1 movie, and Black Panther my #6 movie. Shout out to you, Leroy Cohen. Okay, Vision Quest, and of course, Nerdarati, William Ruffin here in present. So you guys want to talk some more? The chat section is right over in this section right here to my what's that? My right. Right, Video Game Quest says Suicide Squad is my #1 superhero movie of all time, politically amazing. And we're going to go into Suicide Squad right now, Video Game Vision Quest. Let me just change the display a little bit to, I'm going to change my display to screenshot. Okay, so I'm going screen share here. Boom. All right, so everybody's going to see that now. But me and William, we're going to be discussing it. So here's Justice League right here. and you can see the photo right here, Justice League and Suicide Squad. I want to talk a little bit about so much stuff's there, but let's start off with the concept of freedom of choice. So let's talk about the concept of freedom of choice, which goes through Man of Steel all the way to Justice League and even in Wonder Woman. Now, Suicide Squad is a little bit different, right, William?
Yes. Yes.
What do you think about
Suicide Squad was the, can you hear me?
Yeah, in terms of freedom of choice, what do you think about the assembly of this squad, the assembly of this team versus Justice League's assembly of their team?
Well, what the Suicide Squad represents is, from my perspective, what the Suicide Squad represents is it's a couple of things. But ultimately, what I got out of it is when we as human beings try to control things that are beyond our scope of knowledge, because, you know, for man, there's always a desire to want to, when something is unexplained, I want to control it. And if I can control it, I can make it unexplainable. And another thing that Suicide Squad hit on me is that there's a difference between bad and evil.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Just that the screen's going to show display while you're talking. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So there's a difference. So, you know, you have one thing where you try to control things where you don't understand. And then the other thing is that it also shows the whole thing of, you know, just because you did bad things in life doesn't mean that you can't be used for good.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, it kind of means, you know, the scripture in the Bible, when it says all things are used according to his purpose. And for me, that's what I see out of Suicide Squad. So what happens is Suicide Squad is what man thinks should happen versus what God says is going to happen.
Wow.
And that's what I get out of Suicide Squad.
Oh, that's pretty deep in terms of choice. So when I look at it in terms of choice, I realize that these people didn't really have a choice to really be on this team. The head of the team was Amanda Waller, and she used her leverage on them, leveraged their weaknesses to get them on this team, put bombs in their neck. You don't conform to this team, you get blown up. Even the leader of the Suicide Squad, who is Joel Kinnaman's character, Rick Flag, Colonel Rick Flag, he was actually leveraged as well because he was attached to June Moon, who turns out to be Enchantress. So she leveraged him to make sure that he stayed in line. So it was basically leverage she used. They didn't have much of a choice to join and be a team, even though later on, it actually was because of choice that they actually saved the world. So it's really interesting that at the end of the day, they saved Amanda Waller. They retrieved her without choice, and they had bombs in their neck. But in the end, Joel Kinnaman gave them a choice to actually carry out.
But why? But again, I kind of look at it as Jonah in the belly of the whale with the bombs in their necks, in terms of you can't run away from your destiny.
Right.
You know, what's preordained for you to do, you, like I said, you're going to do it. And it's not choice, or more or less of starting to understand purpose and grasping it.
Like Neo in the Matrix. It wasn't about choice. He had already made the choice according to the Oracle. It was about understanding that choice he made.
Yes.
Right. Keep it going.
So
I like
I said, I don't know. So for me, that's what I got out of it. You know what I'm saying? In terms of, you know, in terms of that, at the end of the day, you can't run away. You know, you can't run away from your destiny, what's written for you.
Right. In terms of choice in Suicide Squad, I have this question to ask you. Do you think that their reasons or their motivation for making those choices was sacrificial? Or some people say it was, you know, the motive behind it was selfish, or you think it was a motive that was, how should we say, sort of messianic, like sacrificial, like a true hero, like redemptive? Do you think, what do you think about that?
Okay, do you have any character in mind?
Okay, so let's start off with Deadshot's the guy that kind of turned the whole thing around and made them really want to go and yeah,
I mean,
take down
motives.
Yeah,
his motives yes, for many of us, right, we have like selfish motives. So a lot of his
Right.
motives, again, were centered. Again, they were centered around his daughter. But then ultimately, like I said, again, ultimately he made a bigger, like I said, he made a bigger decision. Why he was detained anyway was because his daughter didn't want him to kill Batman. She didn't want him to. She didn't want him to be a criminal.
Right.
So his selfish motives, which were his daughter, was also a catalyst, or made a catalyst or a way for his atonement.
Right. So he said he didn't want his daughter to think of him as a piece of trash or shit, as he said.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Even though she ends up still talking with him about assassinations and stuff, but
Yeah,
when he goes
man.
to see her. But I get it. So it's love is the key here. Okay, cool. How about what do you think of Harley Quinn's motivation?
Harley Quinn's motivation is it's one of a sense of purpose, like a sense of belonging. Because again, when you looked at
Right.
if you get the character of Harley Quinn, by the way, shout out to Harley Quinn, because I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I went to high school in Canarsie High School in Brooklyn, and on paper, Harley Quinn is from Canarsie, Brooklyn.
All right, cool.
So so
I love
again,
when you
but
cross
for
over
Harley,
from the comic book world to the real world right there. That's cool.
yeah, man. And so the thing is that with Harley Quinn, if you study that character, she was always someone who was straight laced, who played by the rules, and who always did the right thing. And so when she met the Joker, it was a way of where express myself, or I could somewhat be my real self, if that makes any sense.
Oh
And
yeah.
so what I got from Harley Quinn, at least in that film, especially with the Suicide Squad, was that bigger desire for belonging and acceptance.
Right.
And so when you look at the Joker and when you look at the Suicide Squad, so the Joker was someone who accepted her, I guess, some under a particular term or condition. But as the Suicide Squad goes on, or as Harley Quinn's development goes on in the comic books, you see that she's not as dependent on the Joker when she starts to find acceptance in other places.
Right.
Whether it's Suicide Squad or with Batman or the Justice League.
Yeah. That is very
Yeah.
true. She's more of a roamer. She's more of a what's the word I'm looking for? She's dangerous, but she's more of a gypsy. She's a gypsy. She likes to move around. She likes
Yes.
adventure. She likes
Yeah.
adventure and
Yeah.
that kind of
So
stuff.
no. So yeah. So in that regard, for me, for Harley Quinn, she's it's like I said. So once she, I think kind of like, for that character is someone who's looking for belonging without having to put up a front or pretenses or whatever the case might be.
Right. She wants to be herself among certain people. That's why she was talking about people like us. She keeps on saying people like us when she's talking to
Yes, correct.
Diablo. Yeah.
Correct. So in the film, when she was messing with her teammates, like probing their minds and stuff like that, at the same time, she was also projecting.
Right. And she's trying to find belonging, like you say, constantly.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So she was looking for the things that made them vulnerable so she could connect, because she wants to be vulnerable.
Wow. Damn. This is really psychological, man. I didn't even see that in Harley Quinn. Like you say, it's an interesting character, man. It is an interesting character, right? Well, we know that
Yes.
Katana and Colonel, I keep on forgetting the leader's name for some reason. Katana and who was the guy that was leading them again?
Rick Flag.
Rick Flag, Colonel Rick Flag. Keep on forgetting his name. But Rick Flag, we know what was going on with Rick Flag in terms of him and his motivation. But with Katana, what was her motivation? What do you think her motivation was?
Oh, with Katana. Okay, so Rick Flag. Again, to make a long story short, again, Rick Flag will be something like Rick Flag is DC's Nick Fury in a sense.
Yes, a
And
very,
so Rick
very, very screwed up
Rick
Fury, but nonetheless Rick Fury.
Yeah, correct. So especially this is a younger Rick Flag, but especially as the older version of himself, he's kind of akin to somewhat. So what you're seeing in Rick Flag is Nick Fury on the way up, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
He hasn't gotten to the top yet as the one, and let's say from the other universe, but again, he but at the end of the day, his motivations is okay. He's kind of, at least for me, he's still kind of split between, he's kind of split between morality and objectives.
Right.
So
Definitely.
he may, yeah. So again, so he may, okay, I may understand the objective, but I don't like how you're getting there.
Exactly. And you
So
find that, but
and
of
that's
course,
the problem.
what do you think was his
Huh?
motivation though? In the end, his motivation was a strong one. It had to do with June, right? June Moon.
Yeah, it had to. Yeah, it had to do with June, but it also had to do with the fact that again, for Rick Flag, again, I believe in what I can control or my immediate environment around me. So Rick Flag was somebody who didn't believe in redemption or the fact that people can change or do things,
Right.
And so this is, so in that terms of bonding with the Suicide Squad, or whatever the case may be. At first, they were just a bunch of criminals, but then ultimately they became his teammates. And then when you get into the character of June Moon, you're looking at a character where the old statement goes, "This is where curiosity killed the cat." And it goes
Almost
back to
killed the
us
cat.
sometimes.
Almost killed the
Yeah,
cat.
man. So yeah, exactly. So it goes back to us and human beings playing with things that we don't understand. And so for June, she was playing with something that she didn't fully understand the danger of dealing with that particular entity or whatever it was, and she got caught up in a situation that she didn't want to be with. I mean, or be in. Sorry.
Right. And it's interesting if you look at the cover here, they don't show June, they show Enchantress.
Yes, correct. Yeah, 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 man. And, so again, exactly. So no,
Like
so it's
what's
and even for the
funny? That links to Amanda Waller though. But you go ahead. I'm gonna talk about that after.
oh man, Amanda Waller again. Amanda Waller is something else. She's again. It's funny because I believe that Amanda Waller, to some extent, represents chaos. She represents uh unattended. What's the word? Unattended, or it's not unattended. It's
Unintended?
it's when you have outcome. When you have an outcome that you didn't plan for.
Unintended
Um,
management?
is it unattended? I'm not unattended. That's the wrong word. But again, she's like an element of chaos. So she has outcomes that are sometimes good and sometimes bad. So you have this woman who has a track record of being totally amoral, but achieves the result.
Yep.
Unintended consequences, unintended, and that's what I'm saying. So she's chaotic in a sense because it's a result of unintended consequences.
Yep. 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 I was just gonna
Yes,
say that.
and so for me, so for me, that's what that character represents. So it's not so to some extent, it's not that she's not on the side of goodness. It's the methods that she chooses.
She's very immoral with her methods. She doesn't give a damn about how you do it.
Yes,
What's
correct.
interesting to me, if you look at this poster here, it's not June Moon, but it's Enchantress who's at the center of the Suicide Squad.
Yes.
I find that so
Yeah.
so interesting. June Moon, if it was just up to June Moon, Amanda Water would have no interest in her. It's the Enchantress in her she likes. And you hear her talk about Enchantress all the time. She's obsessed with Enchantress.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just so interesting to me because of all the metahumans, June Moon is Amanda Waller is drawn to Enchantress, which is why I don't think Enchantress is dead, nor Ichabod. I think Incubus and Enchantress are alive, the spirits of them at least, but they just need to find bodies now to go back into. That's my take on it, because she was existing without a heart anyway. So I have a feeling that they're going to come back at some point.
Yes. But
But
this is what I'm saying.
but I wanted to ask you your take on Katana, man. What's her motivation, you think?
Oh man, the take on Katana again, someone who wants to be reunited with her husband, because remember, her husband's soul is trapped in that sword.
Right, right. Yeah. But
You know,
there's something deeper, because she ends up fighting along with the squad. At first she hates, just like with Rick Flag, but she hates criminals. I mean, she kills criminals. Like she don't let criminals live. So so she's again kind of on the border of the moral line, because if she knows you're a criminal, she probably quicker kill you than leave you to live, which is not necessarily the right thing. But what I want to know is, what do you think about her motivation to work with the team itself? What do you think was the turning point that made her motivated to work with them?
What would be the turning point? Again, when she somewhat found out, you know, again, that these people are flawed, that they're human, that, you know, again, that sometimes we just have circumstances. So, you know, people tend to, like, for example, people tend to prejudge other people, you know,
Right.
before they actually get to know them. Because remember, a lot of things in life are very subjective. And so Katana, maybe like Rick Flag, is somebody who took a particular objective stance on life, and once you do that, you kind of lose the ability to actually connect with other people in any real meaningful way. You know,
Right.
and so probably, and like I said, and probably since the loss of that character's husband, she probably seen life in a very objective, a particular point of view that was extraordinarily objective and not subjective.
Right. One of the things that was featured in this movie was honor among thieves, if you do remember.
Correct.
So for me, when I think of Katana, I think she always goes with honor. She thinks about honor a lot. And I think what Rick Flag did was dishonorable to the league, to the squad, when
Yes.
he hid information from them concerning what they really were confronting and what they really had to do. And I think the moment when Deadshot walked away to take a drink and realized they were screwed, I think she realized how honorable the thieves actually were, and her perspective on them changed. And I think she went to take a drink with them, which is, you know, she still says, I'm not a thief. She says, I'm not a thief, but she's still taking the drink. You know what I'm saying? So I get the feeling that I think that was the bonding, that whole barroom moment was the bonding moment with all of them. It came to a head, like you said, it was in increments. As they kept on working together, she was observing how these are real people. They actually have feelings. They're not just these monsters, because the theme of monsters is in the movie as well. And she begins to kind of vibe them, like them, respect them, because she's fighting alongside them. I remember Seraphim from The Matrix. He would say, "You truly do not know someone unless you fight them." You know, and I think that camaraderie in this battle, and seeing these people stand up for various reasons to protect Rick Flag and all of these crazy things that were happening, made her sort of slowly, with time, respect them for what they were. Yeah,
correct.
So they weren't just criminals doing evil things at this point in time. They were actually doing some honorable stuff, which she didn't expect, whether their motivations were sincere or not. So I thought that was interesting about Katana, and her motivation is actually transformative. Actually, she goes from hating these people and wanting to kill them on the drop of a dime. The first thing, Harley Quinn greets her and is making a joke, just a joke, and she's ready to kill her. like she was ready to kill all of them. Rick Flag had to say that, whoa, that's not that kind of mission. This is not the mission we really doing here. She's like, shall I kill them? Oh man. So I thought that when you look at this squad that came together, the motivations, like we were saying, they're different to the Justice League, but yet there's some parallels. So we see that, you know, Deadshot has a kind of selfish reason for wanting to actually do this thing, which is to let his daughter see that he's somebody, because she thinks he's a criminal. She thinks he does bad things, and he wants to show that he could do something good. And he says I remember he's saying to Rick Flag, and this thing will be like what he says is biblical. It's going to be like biblical. You know, everybody know about it, right? He says everybody needs to know about it. I want them to know I could do something good. God damn it. And so,
yes, exactly.
Because everybody thinks I'm bad and I'm just a piece of shit. You know, because Rick Flag that's all Rick Flag was telling them. You're a piece of shit. You're just a hitman. You know, you're a coward. But and then he shows he's brave. He shows he has bravery, and he's courageous, and he shows that a criminal, yes, I'm a bad person. I do bad things, but I can be courageous. I can be good. Let everybody know this. God damn it.
Correct.
I always get the bad stick in the end. No, I can be valiant, even though I'm going to go back and kill people after. So
this is but correct, and this is what I'm trying to say. And when you look at Deadshot again, it's the love of his daughter that pulls that out of him.
Yes, it definitely does. And then and it's, the nice thing about it is, you see, they give you the preamble with the daughter, and then Rick Flag keeps on hammering it home time after time again. You're scum. You're nobody. Yes. You that all you could do is bad things because you're not good. So he was hammering it home to Deadshot. So Deadshot kind of shows now, oh, so you better than me? He starts, what makes you better than me? When he sees what Amanda Waller does, she just kills all these people. What makes you better than me? And then later on, he realizes Rick Flag was hiding information from them. You ain't better than me, man. We both screwed. You know, you see that progression. I like that. That's why I can't understand how people could say Suicide Squad is a hack of a film and it's a mess and stuff. It has story. It's building on things, you know, and that's where I don't get it. And you just look back and you just really start to dissect this movie, and you see how deep it is. Even this iconography in front of us, this poster. Notice that the squad is together, but apart from them is the Joker. Do you notice that? And what is he standing on? He's standing on the right eye of a dead skull. He's standing on the right eye of a dead skull. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's separate from them. He's not part of the group. He's not part of the squad. And he is separate from them mentally as well. He's not looking to do anything good. Well, he's doing something good for Harley Quinn, but other than that, he ain't on nothing.
Not even that. Again, this is not even that.
That's true. He's not doing it for Harley. He's doing it for himself. That's right.
And that's what I'm trying to say. And not even that. There's a difference between people who do bad. See, here's the thing. Because what you need to understand is that, again, what did Jesus say? Lord, forgive them, for they do not know. And here's the thing. You and I, most people from time to time will do bad things. But what people don't understand, here's something that people in life don't understand. And this is why Lex Luthor is the best villain in comic book history. It's not your Killmongers. It's not outside of Lex Luthor, the best villain in all the comic books was Heath Ledger's Joker. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why these guys were the best villains. Because many villains are people who feel they're doing the right thing. But when you look at Heath Ledger's Joker and when you look at Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, you know what sets them apart?
They're not trying to do the right thing.
No, but it's not just that. You're almost there, but you know what sets them apart? They are consciously evil.
Yeah, they chose to do the wrong thing.
They are, but I want you to weigh that though. Somebody who's consciously evil versus somebody who's doing something out of circumstance.
Right.
Someone who is, because remember, the Bible goes on to say that for some people who are evil, they don't sleep. All they do is go from one scheme to the next.
Yeah. But the Joker clearly he wants everybody to know what it is to be insane. That's his kick. He's not insane per se. He has a little bit of insanity.
He wants lawlessness.
Yes.
He wants lawlessness. He wants anarchy, and he wants lawlessness. You know,
but it's not necessarily anarchy. because he could keep the law, but he wants you to be insane. He wants you to know what it is to be insane. That's his thing. That's why he's called the Joker.
And that's
He
what
makes
but this
fun
is what I'm
of
trying
the
to say.
fact that
But
people have these restrictions on themselves, and they think that those restrictions will help them, when he's saying no, they don't help you. You need to be truly your true self, and your true self is without limits. And without limits means both you will do a crazy, mad, nasty, insanely evil thing, and on the other hand, you could just go and do a really nice, good thing. On the other hand, it
yeah,
really doesn't matter because you're being truly expressing yourself. So that's what the Joker comes from. So it doesn't necessarily
yes,
mean that the Joker will do only evil, but he doesn't have any moral compass whatsoever. He has purposefully and intentionally thrown the moral compass aside for jokes.
yes.
It must be funny. So once it's funny, he does not care.
Well, it's not about funny. I think his funny lies in irony.
Yes, that's it. That's
Yes.
it.
So the punchline to his jokes are ironic. They're not. It's not necessarily a somewhat of a ha ha funny. Like, because again, we need to see more of Jared Leto's Joker. But when you look at this Joker, you know, again, he said, because it's not according to the plan. If I told you some soldiers were going to die in Afghanistan, nobody would say anything because that's according to the plan. But I tell
Right.
people I'm going to kill one little mayor and everybody goes crazy.
Exactly. And
You know what I'm saying?
The thing about Jared Leto is you just don't know what he's going to do next, like Donald Trump. You just don't know what he's going to do next, and that's the joke. That's the joke.
Correct. Correct. And it's the same thing. And for Harley Quinn, that's why she likes him. Because again, it goes back to, why do girls like bad boys? And what bad
Right.
boys do for women is that they give them that emotional roller coaster. Some women find a
Adventure.
high.
Yeah,
Yeah,
adventure.
yeah. He gives her that adventure. It's that emotional roller coaster. And the funny part is, when the Enchantress showed them what they wanted the most, what she wanted most with the Joker was a life of normalcy. So eventually she wanted to get off of the emotional roller coaster and just be on a smooth SUV ride across country.
Yeah, because there was a scene that was cut from the film where he actually slapped her after he took away
Yes.
the gun. They didn't show that, but they should
Yeah.
have shown it because to show that she gets mistreated by him and she still loves him because he's so unpredictable.
Correct.
She likes that.
Mm-mm. Yeah, she likes that. Yes, and that's this is what I'm trying to say, you know. And then when you get to the Diablo character, he was somebody just that lost hope and mercy.
Oh yeah.
Somebody, in a fit of rage, I killed my family. And so I just kind of want to just sit here and die.
Right.
Until it's until my time. So he's someone that over time, I guess, has lost hope in God's mercy. Feeling that he's committed sins that can't be forgiven.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's in penance mode straight through in the movie.
Yes. Yeah.
And his redemption was in fully expressing who he really was. And
Yes.
who he really was for him was an evil thing. And Harley Quinn was saying, embrace whatever you are. Don't think about
Yeah.
what other people think you are. And again, that's something that the Joker would say again. So it's really the Joker speaking through Harley, but Harley takes it and passes it on to Diablo. And it's so scary because in a way we don't want to tell people to embrace their dark side.
But actually, you do. It's a balance.
Right.
There is a balance, and because that's the complete self.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there is there is a balance. And sometimes, because you got to remember, now the complete self might not be you in the whole. It might be, because again, they say when a man and a woman get married, they become one flesh, right?
Right.
Or,
Exactly.
or one entity. So it may be, so a complete self may not only be with you, but how you express yourself when you're in the other unions that you're in.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So again, so for and this is what I'm trying to say. And so for Harley Quinn, these experiences are allowing her to find her complete self.
Wow. Well, with Diablo, what I would say is this. I think she gave him part correct advice, because she's saying own it. Own the fact that you killed them. Own the fact
Yes,
that you killed
own
them.
that
That
shit.
people like
Yeah.
us, we're not normal. And she's saying you have to own it. And I think he's supposed to own that because he did it and the consequences of it, right? But what I'm saying is that I think that again, we have to talk about the differences between Suicide Squad and Justice League. So we'll get to that in this video. But I think that there's more to it to get to the higher level, to the higher standard. I believe that you cannot necessarily express all of yourself, the whole gambit, especially parts of yourself which are destructive. But even those parts of yourself at inappropriate situations are actually constructive. So it's not necessary. It's like night and day, like we were talking about with BVS. There is a dark side to us and a light side to us, but it's really this. It's just different sides of the same thing.
Correct.
So it's not necessarily that the thing itself is something we need to get rid of, but it's that we sometimes apply it at the wrong time in the wrong environment, and that's what makes it bad. You know, like for instance, we talk about the difference between jealousy and envy, or coveting and possessiveness. There is a place for possessiveness. There's a place for jealousy. There's a place for covetousness. There's a place for envy. But what you do with the covetousness and envy, that is to want what somebody else has. There's nothing wrong with somebody being generous and wanting to be generous like they are. For instance, their envy and covetousness is good if you don't bad talk them, if you don't try to derail them to take what they have. Instead, you go to them and you say, man, I like what you have. How do I get it? You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So there's nothing wrong with covetousness and envy. And you tell somebody, man, I envy that you're such a nice person.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But it is how and when the situation that how you apply that makes it bad or good, makes it dark or light. There's nothing with being a jealous husband. That's good. That means you care. But it's a problem when you get so jealous that you decide to kill your wife. You decide to go after the guy and kill him because he looked at your wife and he said she's beautiful. There's something wrong with that. You see what I'm saying? So again, jealousy is not necessarily a bad thing. Possessiveness is not even a wrong thing because it's your wife. She's your possession. She's flesh of your flesh. She's bone of your bone. You're supposed to have ownership. She's supposed to have ownership over you. But the problem with it is when you take it to the level where now this ownership is something where you're trying to imprison her, where you're trying to imprison yourself, that's where it goes wrong.
Correct.
So, I mean, what I'm saying with Diablo, I think Harley Quinn gave him some good advice, but yet because these guys are villains and bad guys, she didn't give him the complete advice. And so that's what I like about Suicide Squad is that it gives you the perspective from a necessarily a bad person. These really are bad people giving bad advice. But it works. It works because it gets them together, you know? And that's what I like about David Ayer. He understands the psychology of these characters, and the way how he directed them is perfect. You know, you know how he got Deadshot to behave a certain way because of the certain things he told Will Smith that got Will Smith all his insides turning inside out, or he knows all the dark secrets of each of these actors, so he can dial into that. You know, it's a brilliant directing. You know, to get them to actually respond to the material. All right, so. Let me move along a little bit. I really want to go through all the characters of Suicide Squad, but I think there's a lot of other things I want to talk about. So basically, when you look at Suicide Squad, the motivations of these characters is generally a selfish motivations, and not necessarily selflessness, but the selfishness leads to sometimes selfless acts. You see them work together for each other. You see Diablo give his life for the team. Well, he's not really dead because Diablo is not killed by fire or explosions. You can't kill Diablo by those things, but nonetheless. He sacrifices his life for the team, which is a selfless act. But we know it's because of the team coming around him and helping him to come out of his prison of feeling guilty all the time, that he actually has this new life. And that's the reason why he feels like he belongs among them, a family. He even calls them family. People think it's too quick, but I think it's perfect, because I feel they gave him a sense of belonging. I think that's what this movie is mainly about. Killer Croc got a sense of belonging, and you see him volunteer to do things eventually. But again, for selfish reasons, Killer Croc actually becomes part of the team. And just in case, do you remember the selfish reason that he had, right? Just throwing it out there, where he actually switched over to. Yeah, go ahead.
Say it again.
What was you remember the selfish reason that Killer Croc had for joining the team, right?
No, I can't remember it.
It's self-preservation. When they started to fight the things with the eyes, he started taking them. Yeah. He didn't really have no business until one of them actually came at him, and then he just started taking them down. You realize, oh, okay, I need to be with this team. I'm gonna be like the body of the team and protect them. And he started standing up when Rick Flag went into the face of he was threatening Captain Boomerang, because he didn't like Captain Boomerang. The Killer Croc didn't like Captain Boomerang. They were about to tear each other apart, attack each other, and then these faceless monsters came, and that's what kind of pulled them together, right? Captain Boomerang didn't business. He wasn't trying to fight nobody, but then,
correct,
you know, these mindless things started attacking him, so he started fighting back. So that's really where it kind of started to happen. So self-preservation made Killer Croc decide to be part of the team. Captain Boomerang, the same thing. And of course, Slipknot, he never really gelled with anybody, so we could just forget about him. He was trying self-preservation again. He was trying to get out of there, and Captain Boomerang set him up to. It's really a cutthroat set of guys, man. They really were criminals. So what basically I'm saying is that these guys didn't really have much of a choice to form a team. Eventually, when they actually started saving the world, after they saved Amanda Waller, when they really truly started saving the world and working as a team, was after the fact that Rick Flag had been found out, and he laid his cards on the table, and Captain Boomerang got out of there, and it was really, again, Deadshot who, his conviction that caused Harley Quinn, like you say, to me, she was like the first lieutenant. The real leaders of this team are really Deadshot and Harley Quinn, not Rick Flag, really. But he's like the guy.
Correct.
And so whenever Deadshot said something, Harley just kind of seconded it, and then everybody would just follow. And Harley said, you know what? I ain't got nothing else to do. Y'all is pussies. I'm going. And she just went. Yeah. And everybody just fell in line. So funny, man. So yeah, and even when she kissed Diablo on his forehead, it was like, woo! What she said? I can't remember. When he shut the fire out of his hands because Deadshot chained him up, and he got real pissed, and he just blazed out everything. What she said? I can't remember. Man. She was like, "You came through" or something.
Oh, I can't remember. But Will Smith was like, "That's what I'm talking." He said, "No hard feelings. I was just trying to get you there."
Yeah. You know, you could only do that with criminals and Batman. Yeah. I think that's the nice thing about criminals. You know, you just killed a whole bunch of dead, faceless things. And dude's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, my God. So anyway, just imagine those were real people. You know, you could see that these guys really are criminals, because it's funny, but if he was to smoke a whole set of people, and then he says, that's what I'm talking about, I just wanted to get you there. Yeah. That would be so horrendous. People would be like, oh my God, is this supposed to be funny? This is a horror movie. But I could actually see them doing something like that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, that is funny. That's very funny.
They're evil, man. They're not evil. They're bad people, but oh my God, they really are criminals, man. So let's look at comparing them to the Justice League. So what do you notice about choice in terms of the Justice League? Each of these people that actually joined.
What I know, what I learned about what I have about the Justice League is that okay, again, you have Batman who's honestly looking for a sense of atonement. After what happened, I mean, his motivations are laid out. I failed him in life, but I'm not going to fail him in death.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So his motivations are laid out, and when you get to Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman is somebody where I somewhat through my loss, I somewhat there was something that I lost.
Mm.
My one connection. I kind of hid away from the world. I lost my one connection to this world or to this new place that I'm in. So instead of living life, instead of participating in the world, I decided to withdraw. And that was the conflict between her and Batman because these were two people looking in the mirror. Two people who lost something precious in life, which
Right.
is something which are the people that they loved, and they both in similar ways withdrew themselves from other people or society as a whole.
Right. Well, Batman
And
Batman literally operates in the shadows. And you know what's nice about those two is they don't really care about praise and recognition. Neither Wonder Woman nor Batman. They don't care
correct,
about that.
correct. Yeah. So for me, their relationship was like, okay, hey pot, meet kettle. Because while because again, because while they were going back and forth with each other, it was as if as each one was given advice, they needed to take the advice that they were giving the other.
Exactly. Because Batman's like, I never heard of you. And Wonder Woman's like, I never heard of you.
Oh. And then that whole thing's like, yeah, and if we live through this, maybe you could dress up as a bat and come out, and so, he made light of it, in terms of her. And that was the thing for Wonder Woman because she understands the burden of leadership. It goes back to the same thing with Superman. When you have power, when you have these things, and she's like, what if I make the wrong decision? What if I make the wrong mistake?
I can hurt
And
people I
Bruce will
love.
say, you can.
Yeah.
And you can't worry. You can't worry about that kind of thing. You're out there doing the right thing. Your heart is in the right place, and you just have to trust yourself. And she picked up on it. And the way so what Zack Snyder was doing was that he took that Wonder Woman character through Batman, and he was preparing her to lead the league, which makes a lot of sense because, as you were saying earlier, she's the best trained, she's the oldest, she's the most experienced. She's the most experienced, so it makes complete sense that
And
Wonder
she
Woman,
got the
that
actual
Wonder,
signal from her mother too. She was Hippolyta sent her the signal. It wasn't Batman. Batman had a hunch. She had confirmation.
yes,
So it was really in her hands
yes,
to save mankind because Hippolyta had passed the torch to her. She was like, you like they were saying, men haven't seen that fire lit in 5,000 years. And she was like, but she will know, you know.
correct, correct. And what
The
I
thing
liked
was her
about that,
responsibility. It wasn't Batman's responsibility. She was supposed to lead them.
but what I liked about that too, about that statement, it shows how short our lives are and how short our memories are. Man,
Right.
for man is the history has gone for so far so long that we've forgotten about this stuff.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And so now for us, such things are only fairy tales or legends. So it's been this history for us has been so long, and our lifespans are so short that because you got to remember, Atlanteans and Amazons, they live for God knows how long.
Yeah, they live long.
Yeah,
The only
you know what I'm
way
saying?
the only way they die is if you kill them.
Correct, correct. And so, and for men, we're here 1 second and gone the next.
It's true. It's true.
You know what I'm saying? Compared to eternity, right? The day you're born and the day you die happens in almost a blink of an eye, if not so.
Right. Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then, yeah. And like I said, and then you have the Flash, someone who has lost his father, someone who feels alienated. You know, because you got to remember, you got to remember he was a young kid, and so when Professor Zoom killed his parents, it was like, well, I saw flashes of yellow light, and somebody in that yellow light with glowing red eyes killed my mother and not my father. So you're Barry Allen. Your mother was killed in front of you. You're considered a kook. You know, you're considered a kook to everybody in the outside world. You know,
and he doesn't have a father. He doesn't have any father he grew up with, because Barry Allen, his father was taken away from him in prison.
Correct. Yeah. So correct.
So
So exactly. So you're considered a kook. So for Barry Allen to jump right into the fantastic wasn't difficult. So when he said, "I need friends," in terms of, now there are finally people who understand me. You know, there are finally those out there who live outside the normal realms of possibility that will accept me. And that happens with a lot of people, whether you're a science nerd, comic book reader, or whatever the case might be. So what he's saying is that ultimately now I finally found my tribe.
Right. Exactly. And again, Superman probably gave him hope when Superman came out the shadows in Man of Steel.
Yes.
That made a big difference for him, you know.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So to your point, that made a big difference. And then you have the Aquaman character, you know, again, and I could say almost he's almost in a sense like a Superman who's handling things in a weird way, like just split. The difference between Aquaman is this, is that the worlds that he belonged to are existing at the same time.
Right.
So where for Superman, there is no Krypton. Earth is what I got. Let me go with it. Whereas for Arthur, there is an Atlantis, there is a culture, there is a legacy, and what do I do?
Well, Wonder Woman also has two worlds existing, but she chose to stay in Earth, and she can't really go back to Themyscira.
Correct.
But he has access to both. He has access to both worlds. But the thing about it is, he doesn't feel like he fits into either.
Yes.
And then Cyborg's even more interesting, because now Cyborg, it's not about worlds he's existing in. He literally is two different entities, and he can't hide. Like, he can't, unlike Aquaman, who can hide somewhere, or the Flash, who can, you know, he can squat here and there and move around. Cyborg, he's a living, weird looking freak of nature.
Oh no, you know? I'll do you even better. Cyborg is existing on multiple planes of existence at once.
Exactly. It's crazy.
And I don't know how that's not mind-boggling.
Oh, it's mind-bending. It can bring about insanity. I'm surprised he's still kind of staying sane.
Yeah, well, exactly. Which is why his solo film will be such an excellent premise. And you know, and the day the grid and the day that the grid comes out of him, and for the first time in a while, to some extent, he has a level of silence, a level of peace when that entity is pulled out of him.
Yeah, but he can't exist without the grid, though. He needs the grid, so they're gonna have to figure out a way, because he does come back together with the grid eventually. But
yes, but what I would say is that the battle between Cyborg and the grid is not. But you're missing the point. It's not on the physical plane. So
I know.
Imagine Cyborg's body, his physical body, is actually shut down, but on the inside, it's him and the grid.
Jeez.
Over. So when he does come back to consciousness, who's going to be in control? Is it Cyborg or is it the grid?
Wow. Man, this stuff is just, sci-fi is crazy. And you know what? That's very possible, because we already have cybernetics. We're heading in that direction in some respects.
You have AI, you have virtual reality.
That's a scary world, man.
Yeah. You have AI, you have virtual reality. So at the end of the day, imagine a cyborg body being unconscious and shut down, and you got Batman and them watching just to see who's going to come out at the other end.
Gosh, that's crazy. That's kind of like, you remember in the Matrix. I always go back to the Matrix. You remember when Smith went into the body of the guy in the Matrix? Yeah. That's that kind of spooky stuff that go on.
Yeah.
And he's, Cyborg's starting to get more human in how he does his cybernetics. So the alien technology is now being able to streamline into a form that looks kind of more humanoid than it was before. At the end of the movie, we see him doing that, and eventually he'll emulate skin so that he can actually synthesize himself to look almost like a human as he walks among human
Yes.
stuff. So man, it's gonna be, I remember when Smallville had a version of Cyborg where he had his cybernetics on the inside, but on the outside he appeared looking humanoid. I can't wait for that stuff.
Correct.
I mean, gosh, man, if they do a proper Cyborg movie, it probably might be the best comic book movie ever, because this character just has so much evolution. He can do
Yes.
so many different things.
Correct.
It makes for a very interesting, intriguing movie if they could get it down pat. This is not just RoboCop. This is not just that Cyborg movie they had with Claude Jean Van Damme. This is something totally different. So I would love.
No,
and remember, he can interact. He can, and he actually has information from other worlds. Like, he has all that information from all the other worlds, Cyborg, because of the technology. The Mother Box made him. So all the information the Mother Box has of worlds created and all that shit, he has it too. So it's like Cyborg's I mean, man, I don't know what to say. I would love to see all that Cyborg movie.
And not even that. And even for Cyborg, it sets up, because like I said, what he said he hears voices. If I'm DC, at the end of that film, Cyborg hears someone else call out to him. And it's not that, again, he's controlled the grid, he's mastered the grid, and now that he finally has quiet, he hears others calling out.
Right.
He hears other calling out. So for me, I would use Cyborg as a catalyst to find certain Justice League members, and one of those Justice League members being the Martian Manhunter.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. And not to mention, he has links to Darkseid. So Darkseid, he may hear Darkseid's voices, the New Gods. He's got access to even father boxes, because you got the Mother Boxes, then you got the father boxes, New Genesis and High Father, and I mean it goes really far, because again, he interfaced with Kryptonian technology. So and I think the possibilities are endless. He can get into the Phantom Zone. He can get into all kinds of different realms. He can manipulate boom tubes. I mean, he can do all kinds of things. Cyborg is, I mean, I don't know what to say. But anyway, going back to what we say. So we give some background on the characters so we can see their motivation for joining the team. In the end, Aquaman, he begins to realize his world of Atlantis, at least his half world of Atlantis, is under attack by Steppenwolf. That's what eventually brings him to wanting to join the team. But it's by choice, right? And when you look at Cyborg, because his father was kidnapped, that's the incentive that finally gets him to join the team, right? Because initially these two characters turned down both Wonder Woman and Batman. Well, Cyborg didn't straight up turn down Wonder Woman. He just kind of got out of there. He was trying to process. Yeah. But Aquaman straight up turned down Batman. He was very sarcastic, and then he drove off. The Flash, of all characters, like you said, he was waiting for this. So he, as soon as Batman didn't even finish his spiel, and the Flash was ready to join.
Correct.
The Flash didn't know what the consequences of it was. He didn't care about that. His motivation was, I found a family. I found people who understand me. Later on, he began to realize how serious the thing was, and he started to panic. But by and large, 3 of the characters basically turned down Batman. Superman turned him down initially. Cyborg turned him down, and Aquaman turned him down, and then Cyborg basically kind of didn't. He just got out of there when Wonder Woman was speaking to his heart, because she was speaking to his heart, pulling those hearts, and he was like, "Not right now," and he got out of there. So, what I noticed about the Justice League is choice. Like the Matrix, I keep on going back to the Matrix because I'm going to do a comparison with the DCEU and the Matrix, Zack Snyder and the Wachowski sisters, because they're the sisters now. But I'm going to show you how many parallels are there. How Perry White behaves is very much like Morpheus and so on. But getting back to what I was saying, Now, when you look at this, the Justice League comes together because Superman chooses to join the team, Aquaman chooses to join the team, Cyborg chooses to join the team, Flash chooses to join the team, and Wonder Woman chooses to join the team, and Batman chooses to assemble a team. It's all of this is based on choice, right? And of course, Batman is kind of the nucleus of it, but yet it's Superman who is the spirit of it. With on the other hand, and see here, Bruce Wayne saying men are still good, right? So this is what starts the whole thing going, and he's talking to Wonder Woman here, right? And you can see in his face that he's distressed that he killed Superman. But here now, when we look at the Suicide Squad, it's a totally different dynamic how this team is pulled together. This team is pulled together because of Amanda Waller. It's not because of friendship. It's not because of relationship. And it's not because of just necessity. Well, it is necessity, but she pulls this team together because of leverage, right? She basically forces this guy to lead the team, Rick Flag, because he's attached to this lady here. And she has Enchantress, not June Moon. She doesn't care about June Moon. Enchantress is under wraps. She got special abilities. She got her heart. She stabbed her heart and control her, right? She's got Diablo. She got Diablo to join the team. I'm trying to remember why Diablo. How did Diablo join the team?
Remember, they went and got him. Amanda Waller, you know, they, like I said, they forced him into the team. They put
that's right. They just kind of just pushed him out there and said, "You're going."
Yeah. Yes.
She's such a beast. She's such a bad woman. And she got no powers. She's like the Lex Luthor of Suicide Squad. She just bad, man.
Yes.
Killer Croc didn't have much of a choice. They just took him down, right? Captain Boomerang, he came straight by mail. They sent him back to Australia, and they just grabbed him and brought him back. Harley Quinn, she didn't have much of a choice either. Katana. Now Katana how did Katana become a member of the team? Because she's different, right?
Yeah. No, she was with Rick Flag, so she was already an agent.
So when you pull Rick Flag in, he pulled Katana in.
Yes.
Okay. Slipknot didn't have no choice, and sure as hell, Deadshot didn't have no choice. So this entire team, at least when it came together, these people didn't have no choice. They had bombs in their necks. You don't follow orders, boom, right? That's how it began. But later on, it became a matter of choice in the final outcome where Amanda Waller was held hostage and Enchantress was wreaking havoc and with her brother. And basically, the team finally came together. Now, what about this outlier here? Why do we have him in this whole equation? I don't understand. What was the story with him?
What, with her brother?
No, with this outlier. You see, you watching? I'm circling.
Yes, with the Enchantress brother?
No, with the Joker. I'm circling him. The Joker is the outlier.
The Joker, yes. But, the Joker was, again, he's a wild card in this film.
So unlike the Justice League that didn't have no wild card, the Justice League don't really have no wild card, right?
No. But he was a wild card. So he was, like I said, again, he was chaos. Again, it goes back to what I think the theme is when people try to control things they don't understand.
Right. So she was trying to control Harley, but she's attached to the Joker, so she thought she figured out what to do, but she really didn't think it all the way through.
Yes, correct.
Right. So Justice League didn't have that element. Also, the villain in the Justice League had a villain. Well, and the villain was Steppenwolf, and so we don't even feature him because that's not so important. So there you go. So when you look at the Suicide Squad, if I was to summarize some of this stuff, Suicide Squad basically represents a group of people who came together. They did not want to come together. It wasn't like they were dying to come together to meet each other. They did have selfish interests that really motivated them to finally come together. One of them died in the process of it, so he wasn't even there. But they were actually trying to fight amongst one another to kill Rick Flag, take over and then find a way to get away. But in the end, they actually embrace their destiny and they work together to save the world. With
Yes.
respect, and the leader,
Hello.
Amanda Waller, she actually gets captured because she was the one trying to, as you say, implement control. Whereas in this movie here, while the League unwillingly wanted to save Amanda Waller because they didn't know she was under the control of Enchantress, but by taking down Enchantress, they actually freed Amanda Waller. And you hear the whole entire League, they're like, the entire squad say they're like angry that Amanda Waller is still alive.
Yeah.
It was like, why you ain't dead, right? And they were threatening her and stuff, and she still had the detonation device. So in the end, nobody was really happy that Amanda Waller was there. Whereas at the end of this movie, they saw Batman as precious. He was the leader of this team here, and they chose to join the League and be even though they may not have agreed with everything with him. And so they actually saved his life.
Yes.
At the end. Whereas with the Suicide Squad, they, they inadvertently or unintentionally, the word you were using all the time, unintentionally saved her life. Like it didn't go the way she planned, but somehow it worked out for her. Should have been dead. She should have been dead, but it didn't work that way. So she's very lucky. Whereas with Batman, the team disregards his orders, and they actually come and save him. They actually, out of love, try to save him. At least I think Wonder Woman out of love and in true leadership fashion, because the Amazons always care about each and every warrior. Like, they care about them. They really do. So that's in her character to want to care that nobody's life is lost. And she realizes Batman's on a suicide trip. She's like, she assesses the situation. He's like, he's not going to make it for 3 minutes. And Aquaman's like, let's use him. He don't give a damn about Batman. Like, forget it. And she doesn't even put it up to a vote. They go out and they save his life. And so, one more thing I got to say, because there's a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about, but we really only covered one thing, which is really choice. We see that when it comes to choice, the Justice League members, they chose to be part of this group. All of them.
Yes.
But here, the Suicide Squad, initially, they didn't choose. They were just kind of put together. But eventually, in finding the value of each other, they were given a choice and they chose to stay together, right? For the most part.
Yes.
All right.
Correct.
Anything you want to talk else concerning the Justice League? There's a lot of other things I want to say, but you go ahead. Because I'm trying to compare and contrast two movies.
Now, when you get to Justice League, here's the thing. And I want to make this point for the people, because, a lot of us, and I believe that it does exist now with everything that we're seeing. A lot of us now are talking about, like, a Snyder cut, which I do want to see.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, which I do want to see. However, I think that the overall message, why I still enjoy Justice League, is because I feel that the overall message or intent of the film was still communicated.
Absolutely. The vision Zack Snyder had for this film was communicated fully. Not fully, but almost fully, right?
Yeah, correct.
Think of it like we got the cake without the icing. Let's put it that way.
Yes, exactly. And so, so for me, like I said, in this regard, I don't know, like, you have people on the internet, one guy's like, it was John Campia who was talking about, Black Panther represents the fact that the DCEU should start over. And I wish I could call in, because I would tell them, no, what Black Panther represents is that the DCEU needs to leave Zack Snyder alone.
Exactly. That's what it means, because
that's what it represents.
Basically that's a Zack Snyder, that's a DCEU film. That's what you're telling me. Yeah.
Correct.
Just that they have a much more open-minded a fan base that is open to a movie like that, because it has a branding, which is Marvel on it. MCU. That's all.
Correct.
If these were MCU films, or if Disney was in charge of this franchise, we have a different, we have a different response to it. But because people are so partisan in this film industry right now, we're getting all this negativity towards these films. Even before the films come out, there's a lot of
Yeah, yeah,
negativity towards them,
yeah.
telling you
So
that there's a
yeah, so
bias.
having the branding of Disney Marvel really helped push this. So if Paramount Pictures made Black Panther, it's a different thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so it's all about politics at the end of the day that's going on out here. And when people become more sincere about the movie going business, stop playing politics with it, we're going to be much better off. But until
No,
then, it takes
correct.
you know, streaming like this where we have discussions that are actually meaningful, that to make people understand the worth of these movies and how rewatchable they are and how durable they actually are, you know.
Yes.
So I want to talk about the aspect of love now. Now, we talked about Wonder Woman, but there was actually in Suicide Squad this question of love, this theme of love kept on flowing throughout this movie. We had the love between Deadshot and his daughter. We had the love with Harley Quinn and the Joker. We had the love between Colonel Rick Flag and June Moon, who is trapped inside of Enchantress, is a figure for somebody who loves someone who seems horrendous to everybody else. People looking on the outside, they see Enchantress. People looking on the inside see June Moon. You understand what I'm saying? Then you have the iconography of Diablo, love. He actually loves his family, but yet he kills them. He kills people he loves because of a crime of passion. And in my country, just very recently, a guy killed 3 women and 1 man. One of the women was his wife, one was his daughter and daughter's friend, and a guy, he slashed them up with a cutlass. That's an instrument that you use in agriculture to basically farm. And in third world countries, we have a lot of domestic violence like that. We got guys that go on. Just recently, there a guy turned his gun on his wife, shot her, and then shot himself because he felt that there was infidelity going on. She was with some other guy. And these are acts of insane violence. And then the people, after they do these incredibly stupid acts, they turn around, they can't live with it, and they do just like Diablo. They punish themselves by killing themselves if they can possibly attempt to kill themselves. So you know, Diablo is a very interesting character. What do you think of Killer Croc, the guy that says very little in the movie, but I really love it. In terms of love, what do you realize? What does Killer Croc teach us?
You know, it's a thing of belonging. You know, again, it's because he has his appearance, which would obviously frighten a lot of people.
Right.
But what one of the things that love gives a person is purpose.
Right. But I noticed he also had strong self-love. He said, when she looked at him and he said, except him, he's ugly. He says, no, shorty, I'm beautiful. Self-love. Yeah. He got that internal self-love. And imagine this guy.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm trying to say. Remember, when you look at purpose, we've all known people, not to cut you off, but we all known people who don't have self-love. And what are they looking for? They're constantly looking to fit in. And their desire to fit in is painfully obvious. And so that neediness makes them less attractive to the group that they're trying to appeal to.
Right, right.
You get what I'm trying to say? So for Killer Croc, hey, I know what it is I want to do. I have my own purpose. I have my own ideas. And based upon that, despite his appearance, is how he gets accepted.
Yeah, and even if you think about his story and background, it's a very painful one because this guy, he has this disease that's deformed him. And on top of that, this guy, he basically lives in gutters and sewers and attacks animals and eats them. And eventually, the dude, he literally was happy to be in Arkham Asylum because being outside of not Arkham Asylum, Belle Reve, he actually gives himself into Belle Reve just to live a semi-normal existence. Because he's been hunted down. Batman hunted him down. He had to run from Gotham and they caught him. And I'm thinking, man, what a poor dude. You know, when I see him watching BET with women bouncing their behinds in front of him, and he just kind of like, you see him kind of like conducting an orchestra. It's funny, but it's kind of sad because it tells you this guy finds comfort and relaxation in a cell, in a prison, where he feels a little bit more peace and a little bit more stability in his life, and he can focus on other things that other people focus. He's a human. People forget he's a human being. And so it's kind of sad when you watch it at the end. It's funny, but it's actually sad. And to see this guy kind of get comfortable in his own skin is kind of remarkable when you think.
Yes.
And so I think about
Yes.
self-love in terms of that. What do you think of Katana? Well, we all know Katana had love for her husband, and that turned her into a passionate for revenge and vengeance, and that's where her hate, which is a displaced form of love to criminals, sort of came about. But what do you think about Enchantress? Or should I start? Let's start with June Moon first. June Moon. What do you think is her what do you think is driving her with love? What's the love thing? What's the love connection?
It's her connection to Rick Flag.
Right, right, right. That's
You
true.
know what
It's
I'm saying?
kind of
Because you know what I'm saying? Yeah, because here it is. I'm going through this horrible ordeal in my life. And here's the one. Again, it's that kind of anchor of, imagine, if you're on, if you're, imagine you found out you had cancer. And while you're hooked up to chemotherapy, hairless and all, you meet somebody that falls in love with you practically on your deathbed.
wow.
That's super genuine.
Right, right. It is. It is. It is. But what do you think of Enchantress now? I didn't address Enchantress, but Enchantress is a tragic story if you think about it. But what do you think of Enchantress? What is her object of affection?
Worship. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Yeah,
So
so
you don't think Incubus was her object of affection, that her brother was like her, so she loved him?
yes, but remember they said that, the humans before they used to worship us as gods. So
Right.
it goes back to when we unleash forces that we don't understand. You know, this is again,
But
and
don't you
that's what I'm
think
saying.
that Enchantress was basically striving? This is the sad, I think this is the tragedy of the story. I think Enchantress was actually striving for appreciation and love. I think she was reaching out for that. And she found it in her brother. She was glad that he was alive still. He called to her. And then I think she
Yeah.
really wanted to get things back to where they were because that's what she knew and understood and recognized.
Yes. Yeah, but it goes. Yeah, but that's what. But this is what I'm trying to say, right? With that particular character, right? You have, her goal was worship, and that's what I'm saying, because her brother. Remember, her thing was that she was going to build a machine to destroy human beings. So it's like, okay, I don't have your worship, then you need to go.
But she wasn't thinking of annihilating all human beings. She was just going to take out the ones that had the power structure so that they could reestablish the things that were there before and bring back that structure and order to the world that was necessary, right? She was like the destroying angel for a moment, but she intended for the world to be, in her perspective, I guess, a better place where she was at the top of the pyramid, right?
Yeah.
So why I say that, because I think about the fact that she was kind of hesitant to kill the squad. It's almost like she's a squad member for real. And she's hesitant to kill them because she thinks they're honorable, they're worthy. A lot of them are meta-humans. And she wants that companionship. She wants to share this kingdom with somebody. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't just want to rule it by herself. And you get
Yeah.
that feeling like she's trying to give them that second chance because, and she was glad that Harley was stepping forward and saying, "Step forward, my child."
Yeah.
What do you want? But really and truly, at the end, it's not what she wants. It's not what Harley Quinn wants. It's what Enchantress wants. She wants some company. She wants
Yeah.
she wants to rule the world with meta-humans. She's like, you guys are meta-humans. Look how the world treats you. What is wrong with you? Join me. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
you feel that she's calling out to them. Hey, come on, man. We can do this together. I don't want to do this by myself. You just
Yeah.
killed my brother. So come on, let's do it. Because if she was so mad that Incubus was dead, right? She could have killed all of them. She could have killed all of them. She was that powerful. She could have killed them all. She didn't. She fought them. And then, of course, they kind of was roughing her up. I mean, Killer Croc was starting to rough her up, but she fought them, and then she tried to make a deal with them, and she was like, you know what, this could work out. You could feel that, in my opinion. I think she's the tragedy in the whole story. I feel like her ending is tragic, in that she of all people really was calling out for friendship, and she tried to give them what they wanted. You know, like Deadshot wanted to kill Batman, and this is what you want. I know what you want. She's kind of like an Amanda Waller. She's trying to leverage. I know what you want. I can give you what you want. Join me. You know, because she's evil. She's evil, so she's trying to do it. You know what I'm saying? And she's reaching out to them. If you think about it, she has been trying hard to reach out to them. She's like, I'm lonely. I want friends. Join me. So she doesn't know how to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because she's evil. So it's kind of sad. I kind of feel sorry for her in a way, because she's the one that actually lost out at the end of the movie. And unfortunately, she, just like the Hulk and Bruce Banner, just like Cyborg and the Grid, she's basically two people, and there's two people inhabiting one body. So now she doesn't have no body; she's just a spirit floating around. But the point is that she's the one that lost out, and in a way, I feel sorry for her, because she's the one that she really just wanted love. She really wanted love, right? And in a way, when Deadshot said, just go out to your old lady and smack her on the butt and tell her stop doing that, that's pretty much kind of what she wanted. She wanted some kind of relationship. You get what I'm saying? In a way, what Deadshot said, while it's funny, it's actually what Enchantress wanted. She wanted companionship. She wanted someone to share her power with, which she was hoping that would be with Incubus, you know? So, and while her view of the world, it's kind of like with General Zod. When you think about what General Zod wanted, it wasn't a bad thing. He wanted Krypton back, right? He wanted Krypton to live again. He wanted his race of people to be that glorious race of Krypton that he knew, right? Nothing's wrong with that, right? But he didn't, you remember, he didn't live on Earth, so he didn't value Earthlings. So for him, an Earthling was like a cockroach. An Earthling is like an ant. You know, you go in the kitchen, do you look around and you see ants on a bread that you're about to eat? Do you say, oh, wow, look at those pretty ants, I don't want to kill them? No, you dust the ants off. If they live or they die, so be it. You shake it. You may heat up your bread to make sure that you get rid of most of the ants so they scurry away, and you eat your bread, right? That's what you do, right? So this guy comes, he discovers Krypton. I'm sorry, he discovers Earth. He sees all these ants on the Earth. You get rid of the ants. You reshape the Earth. You cook it, right? You heat it up in an oven. You get it to what it looks like, so it looks like Krypton, and you live there. So, you know, you have to look at it from the perspective of the villain sometimes, and they have a rational reason for what they're thinking, right? It's not just they're a victim of circumstance, and that's why Enchantress is no Lex Luthor. Enchantress is no Joker. You know what I mean? Joker and Lex Luthor are different people. You all right, man?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, snap. You were sleeping. It's supposed to be late in the night, man. You tired, man. Hey.
No, I'm not sleeping. I'm not sleeping. I have I'm not sleeping. I have a thing that's running, and so it has a thing. I'm not sleeping. I'm listening to you completely, man.
Oh, okay.
No,
well, anyway,
I'm in the mix.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is that sound that you were just doing there?
This sound here. So we have let me do it. When you have it, it runs like the sound, like a computer program that we have. Because, I can't go much into it, but I work for a security company here in Iraq.
Yeah. Hello? Yeah. Security company in Iraq. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a program that it's a thing that we have. So I want to see, because I was down in the ops room that we have. So now I'm up.
Oh, so you were in a different environment. Okay.
Cool. Yeah. So that was it. Yeah. So I just switched out. But no, dude, like the thing is, it goes back into what I was saying before, unintended consequences, how ultimately everything works out for a purpose of a greater good, whether you attended to or not.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You know
It's
what I'm
true.
saying? And this is because people say, okay, fine, all right, you can say that. Okay, well, Suicide Squad is a test to see how people will take Justice League or whatever. I mean, you can say that, fine, fair enough. However, for me, what the film delivered was it delivered, like I said, it delivered that message, and I'm really super pumped that DC has decided to make the New Gods movie.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute with
Yeah.
that wonderful director as well, black director. So when we look at it, both movies, one of the similarities was both movies had a sense of family, right? So we end up with
Yes.
family, except the leader, Amanda Waller, is not really considered family. And everybody else is considered family, which is cool. And I like that Rick Flag bands together, how they make the decision making. And here again, we get a sense of family. And this is the beginnings of the Justice League, which is what I like about this one. This one has a multiplying effect, whereas this one, it's kind of expendable. Like somebody could get axed real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I find this has the minus effect, whereas this one has the additive effect, which is what I like about Justice League at the end of it.
Well, I'll tell you this. Basically, for me, the difference between Justice League and Suicide Squad is this. It's the old saying, you can either lead with the carrot or the stick. So Justice League is the carrot,
Right.
and Suicide Squad is the stick.
And Suicide Squad came in Suicide Squad is kind of like Lex Luthor's response to metahumans, right? You remember
no, actually with Lex Luthor, you would have the Legion of Doom.
Yes, I know, but what I'm saying is Suicide. You remember Lex Luthor is the guy that started the metahuman thesis, and he wanted the kryptonite in response to the Kryptonians to control the Kryptonians. Amanda Waller took it to the next level. She pitched it to the government, and she said, "Look, man, the next Superman may not be good. We need to have the metahumans on our side, and I know how to leverage it." Right? So that's the response to the metahumans. But Justice League is the metahumans. Literally, this is the rise of the metahumans and the age of heroes. And so that's the contrast there. The other interesting thing is we actually meet the head of the Justice League, who meets the head of the Suicide Squad at the end of Suicide Squad, which I find very interesting. Bruce Wayne meets Amanda Waller, right?
Correct.
And they have a discussion, and Bruce Wayne talks about me and my friends, which is these guys, will shut down your guys if you keep on persisting because that thing is too explosive. So I find that also interesting because that sets up a potential clash between the Justice League and Suicide Squad. Nevertheless, we talked about the potential clash between Justice League and the New Gods, being Darkseid and company, but we also have the potential clash between the Justice League and the Legion of Doom that Lex Luthor was talking about. So we're talking about some real mega clash ups that we could have with the next Justice League movie. And that's what I find very interesting. That's why I even talk about Suicide Squad with Justice League in the same breath, because you must remember there's a continuity between Suicide Squad and Justice League, seeing that Suicide Squad happens a little bit before Justice League, and that Amanda Waller actually takes her initiative before Bruce Wayne takes his, even though Bruce Wayne started his initiative before Amanda Waller did start hers. So I find that very
actually no, because what happened was but again, Amanda Waller had those files on them, which means at some point she was marking them.
Right, absolutely. She was marking the Flash and Aquaman as well.
Yes, she was marking them to bring them into the Suicide Squad.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. And now Bruce Wayne also has some information on Enchantress and all the members of the Suicide Squad as well, which is very interesting. Well, no, not all the members, the metahumans of the Suicide Squad. So he, of course, he already knows about Killer Croc. But Enchantress, I think, is very interesting to him. And I think she's going to pop up at some point somewhere else. I don't know who, if she's going to get a body or how it's going to work. But I think she's going to pop up somewhere else, which is very intriguing. But here's the thing. We said it's a continuity. Now, I want to ask you this question. Do you think Amanda Waller started her project before Lex Luthor or after Lex Luthor started his?
I believe that these things happen simultaneously.
With the coming out of Superman and Man of Steel.
Yes, I believe that these things happen simultaneously. I think, because remember, for Lex Luthor, by the time you meet him in BVS, remember, they stole the files from Flash, Aquaman, and them from Lex Luthor, and then Amanda Waller had her files also. Remember that. in BVS. And so again, what did he say? Right? He wanted to synthesize that kryptonite as he said, a quote unquote deterrent. So maybe you don't have to depend on the kindness of strangers.
Right, of monsters. Well, here's my question to you, though. Amanda Waller had pitched Task Force X to the government before the Suicide Squad movie. So my question is, there were meta humans moving around. Was Amanda Waller tracking down Killer Croc and all these other guys before Lex Luthor had
Of course,
Superman?
Well, no, I believe that they were tracking these guys down. I don't know. I think it all happened. I really believe, from my perspective, that it all happened simultaneously, because Superman. It goes back to this. It's what I tell a lot of people, that
but Harley Quinn was around way before Superman. You know.
Yes, correct. Yes, yes. Harley Quinn was around, and all of these things and everything else. But the thing about it was that, you know, when you look at the metahuman thing or whatever the case, you might have had things that were unexplained. Because, like I said, Lex Luthor had his files, but I can't tell you whether or not it happened before Superman, because Cyborg happened. I can't tell you what the time frame was.
Well, here's the question to you, right? When I look at Batman captured Harley Quinn how many years ago? We know she was accomplice to the death of Robin 10 years ago, right?
Yes.
So I don't know when Batman caught her. If he caught her, when he caught her and he put her, and she got put behind prison, and then she ended up in Belle Reve. I want to know if that time was more than 3 years ago. Because if it's more than 3 years ago, that's before Superman was shown to the world. Because Superman was shown to the world in 2012 or 2013. So if it was before that point in time, that doesn't mean that she was chartered to be a member of the Suicide Squad, but it does mean that possibly Amanda Waller was amassing files on different people.
Yes.
So that's why I asked that question, because I was thinking about, you know, how soon that happened. Because Captain Boomerang was also caught by the Flash, and we know the Flash wasn't the Flash before Superman came on the scene. That was after. So that would have to have been after Superman had the Metropolis incident. And by the way, just for those listening, the Metropolis incident is what influenced Lex Luthor's decision to look at metahumans, because I think he was looking at Kryptonians, and I think he had a negative outlook of Kryptonians because of the Metropolis incident. Because you got to understand, the world, if you and me saw an incident like that, we would not think of it necessarily positively. We would think of it, when we think of a Kryptonian or alien.
Nobody walked away from 9/11 thinking that it was a good thing.
Exactly. So that's kind of like 9/11. I mean, Superman helps to stop it from being worse. So a lot of people would think of Superman in a positive light, but just thinking that he's a Kryptonian as well, and that in a kind of way, he kind of brought the Kryptonians to Earth because of his beacon thing. They kind of look at him, you know, kind of like, yeah, I'm glad you saved Earth, but, you know, I kind of have a question mark about you. You're a Kryptonian. You're not an Earthling. Why are you posing as an Earthling? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because the question is, because at the end of the day, between Superman and Zod, you know, again, are you really on our side, or you're just two rival groups fighting over who's going to control Earth? It doesn't necessarily mean that either one of them has the interests of Earth on their side. They could,
but
be
even if he has the interests of Earth on his side, he was not honest, and up to this day, he's not letting everybody know who he is that commonly walks among us. We don't know who he is. The Earth doesn't know he's Clark Kent. Remember, his name is Kal-El. So Kal-El is walking with a fake name. He's living and doing jobs as a fake Earthling. He's not one of us. And because of him, these Kryptonians came down and threatened the world. Who's to say that somebody else wouldn't come and threaten the world because of Kal-El? who's not letting us know who he
Correct.
is.
Yeah,
He's
but
not being fully honest with
yeah,
us.
yeah.
So I
But
mean,
it goes back to what you said, right? So some people will see it, but again, at the end of the day, it's change. You know what I'm saying? You know, again, it's change. You're entering a new age, and like I said, Superman is gonna exist in some shape, form, or fashion. You know, again, it's a new age. Some people couldn't handle life in America post civil rights movement,
right.
post slavery,
Well,
post
I
certain
think
things.
I think what validated Superman being here was when Doomsday came on the scene. Which
Yes.
Doomsday didn't come from another world. Doomsday was created from General Zod. It was an Earthling that created Doomsday. That came out in the news media. That was Lex Luthor that made Doomsday and so all of this stuff. So that came out. Now, if General Zod wasn't here, Doomsday wouldn't have come. But then the third validation comes when Steppenwolf comes to the Earth. Steppenwolf has no connection to Superman whatsoever, right? And so people now realize, oh no, we need somebody to protect us. So we're happy that we have Superman. We're kind of happy that we have, So in the beginning, people are like, man, who is this dude? Why is he? And he says he's going to do it on his terms. What? Who the hell is he? You know what I'm saying? What,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can understand if that was to really happen in the world today, man, trust me, people would have some very interesting opinions. The news would have very interesting opinions because now we have someone
Oh
who's more
my
powerful
God. And
than anyone.
oh
Yeah.
my God. And there you go. And there you go. And it goes back to what I said. And you just took me to the greatest scene of all comic book films, which is must there be a Superman?
Yes. And then she said there already is.
When,
Well, in that world. But
yes,
you're right.
when it started with him coming from the burning building, holding the girl,
Right.
and that music, and when he kneeled down and gave the girl to her mother, and when he stood up and everybody was like reaching out to him, and
Right.
then it goes to and like I said, must there be a Superman? And he said, in principle, would you tell a grieving mother that Superman could have saved their child, but for the sake of politics, you didn't want him to act? So must there be a Superman? She's like, it's a reality. So we could debate it if we want to or not, but it's a reality. And
Right.
and people say for human beings, we like to project ourselves on others. If
True.
we're looking at a paradigm shift, if we have this messianic figure, who are we to decide how he's going to be a messianic figure? Or what if he's just a guy trying to do the right thing? What if
Right.
he's neither of it?
Right. Exactly. I mean, those are pertinent questions uh for people in the world today with special abilities and special skills today. A lot of people
Yeah.
want to put them in a box and we really don't know what it is to have that special ability or that special skill. But we try to bring them down to our level when they're doing exceptional things. And we always feel that there's only one specific way to go about doing things. And so I really love that debate. It's totally comic booky because that's what comic books used to do. And I love the discussion because it's a relevant one to today when we talk about people who shine their light. They always say, don't shine your light too brightly, but you really should shine your light as brightly as you can. Keep testing your limits. You know what I'm saying? In this world
Correct.
today. And people generally, just because you don't say what the masses say, doesn't mean you should keep quiet. I think you should express yourself and
Correct.
your opinions. And sometimes those opinions have a magnificent effect in spite of the people who try to shut you up. So, I mean, it's a powerful thing you're saying. I'm just putting out the perspective of people and how people would freak out. Like Perry White said, what would happen if people would have found out that it was someone like that out there. And it was so funny.
Yeah.
It was so funny that he, like you said, he validated Jonathan Kent's view that, people hate what they don't understand. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, Suicide Squad. So, this is the other thing. This is a great question. So I'm going to ask you it. I'm going to be careful how I'm going to give you a certain amount of time because you could probably take forever to answer this question, right? What was the heart of Suicide Squad? Superman was the heart of Justice League, right? That's a given. What was the heart of Suicide Squad. Let me hear what you got to say about that. Now you could, I've given you like 5 minutes because it could go on forever.
The heart of Suicide Squad wasn't in any kind of one individual. The heart of Suicide Squad was the heart of Squad was them talking about the sins that put them there. Imagine being in purgatory and talking to other people about your life and explaining. Hello?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Are you there?
Yeah. Okay, I can hear you loud and clear.
So imagine being in purgatory and explaining to people how you ended up where you ended up. And so what happened was that each of them all found out that they were all human beings, that they just weren't these monsters, you know.
Right.
And so when Diablo laid his stuff out, Deadshot, Harley Quinn, etc. So when they laid this stuff out, again, what you found out was the difference between bad and evil. So bad was, again, bad is to some extent subjective, where evil is not. So you have, where evil is like clear cut in terms of what it wants to do. And so when you look at it, the heart of Suicide Squad was the fact that, okay, no matter the fact that I made mistakes in life, no matter if I make mistakes, like, not only can I be forgiven, not only can I find deeper purpose, but I also have the chance to start over again. Because these are people who may have done things to say, I don't deserve things like family or normalcy or whatever the case might be. And so through that experience, or going through that particular tribulation together, they bonded. So again, what did Diablo say in this fight? I'll show you what happens when you mess with my family.
Right. I want to show you something. So I'm gonna go super deep right now. Right. So first of all, just bear with me here. Suicide Squad began with a remembrance. You remember the guy with the teen shirt and he said, remember?
Yes.
Good. You ever wondered what was the relevance of that?
Yes. I remember that t-shirt. Yes.
There was a relevance to that. And I'm going to tell you this.
Yes. The world changed when Superman flew across our skies, and it changed again when he didn't. Right.
Now, Amanda Waller tried to implement leverage. And we heard at the end, she was speaking. Amanda Waller tried to implement leverage.
Yes.
At the end of the movie, she's talking to Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne is talking about his friends, and Amanda Waller is saying, "What are you talking about? Friendship? You have to use leverage."
Say that again.
Amanda Waller said, "What are you talking about? Friendship? You got to use leverage." Right? So she's talking about leverage.
Because again, Amanda Waller is not someone that believes in trust.
Right. Now, so listen to me.
Amanda Waller, leverage is stronger than trust. Like it's like for people who say that it's better to be feared than loved.
Right.
That's her stance. She's someone who says it's better to be feared than it is to be loved. So that's where her stance comes from.
So the villain in this movie is Steppenwolf, is Amanda Waller. You got it? So Steppenwolf is Amanda Waller.
Okay.
Right. Now,
Amanda Waller?
Yeah. Amanda Waller is Steppenwolf. She's on the good side of in terms of outcome, but in terms of her methods and motifs, she governs by fear and leveraging your weakness. All right? Okay. So now we got that out of the way. Now, the team comes together involuntarily because of Amanda Waller, but it stays together and actually saves the world because of friendship. Right? They have a deeper bond. Rick Flag finally has a deep bond with Deadshot and with the entire crew, and they're ready to die for one another, such that Diablo calls them family, and he lays down his life, or at least apparently it looks so, for the team. In fact, the lieutenant of Rick Flag ends up laying down his life for the team as well. Right?
Yeah.
So friendship. Now I want to show you something.
Yes.
Let me just turn down the volume a little bit because I'm hearing feedback. All right. So here's the thing now. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Remember, the movie said, "Remember Superman," right? Now that echoes into the movie coming down to the end. Superman actually shows up on the Suicide Squad because they all get hope in the face of hopelessness. See that ballroom scene? That's the scene where Superman shows up. So the heart of Justice League was Superman. And guess what? The heart of Suicide Squad was Superman. Think about that for a minute. The Suicide Squad was only effective not because of fear. When Rick Flag laid down the detonator, put his cards on the table. Remember, initially, Deadshot said, "My cards are on the table, Rick." You remember that? That was early on in the movie. Well, Rick Flag, because he loved June Moon, the lady that he loved, they made fun of him. I don't know what it is to make out with a witch. But because he loved June Moon, that drove him to take the risk of destroying the detonator. And now this was not about fear anymore. This was about a bond, friendship, and the people had to have some kind of hope that the outcome could actually happen. And that's where Superman took over that team, and the remembrance of the essence of Superman came to the fore in that team. And what's interesting about this, when I look at this poster, look at this thing. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but I'm going to do a little outline here with my little arrow here, and I'm tracing the skull, the smile on the skull face, which Joker likes to use. And you go up here. When you come to the X, you just make a little turn right here, and you go down like that. And you come back up here with this X here, and you come back down. You get a heart. You actually get love. So what it says is that even bad people can have hope, and even bad people can show love. Know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so Superman reaches a group of people that normally nobody else would reach in his absence. So Amanda Waller didn't quite get it. She didn't quite get it. She said the world was changed when he flew across the sky, and it changed again when he didn't. He stopped flying. Not really. Because even in his absence, when he wasn't flying across the sky, Superman was busy giving people hope and filling them with a love and a desire and a drive to do things that are not possible. And that's the beauty about the center of Suicide Squad. It's actually Superman gets his presence up in there more than people think. And so that when you look at almost all 5 DCEU films, even though Wonder Woman came before Superman, she also showed the attributes of hope and love, mostly love, but still hope, that again transcended, so that she did not kill the villain of the movie. There are a number of villains in the movie, but one of them, a principal villain, Dr. Poison, who was an atrocious killer. We saw her put a soldier into a mask and feed him with poison gas, and you see that guy dying. He's suffering and dying, and she's laughing about that, right? This is the kind of person she was, the worst of humanity. And yet Wonder Woman does not kill her at the end of the movie, right? Because the same attributes and principles that Superman holds, where Superman believes in giving the worst of the worst people in the world a second chance, because even they can do something good, something Amanda Waller believes, but in a different sort of way, right? These are the worst of the worst, and yet these people actually display hope, what Superman has. And hope is about bringing about what? The potential of good in every person to be a force for good, right? That's what hope is. So we see that every person in this DCEU has the potential to be a force for good. We actually see the worst of the worst people in the world, which make up the Suicide Squad, be a potential force for good. And I think that narrative is very powerful, which is why a lot of people still underestimate Suicide Squad, because yes, these are villains. Yes, these are terrible people. They're not good people, okay? But at the end of the day, what actually bound them together was love and the feeling of family, and that helped them to have that hope to accomplish something that they did not think they could accomplish. And that's Superman right there. That's what Superman represents. So I just believe that the heart of Suicide Squad, the thing that really pulls this movie together and really makes it happen, and which is why it's a kind of superhero movie in a way, even though these are mostly villains and supervillains, is the hope aspect of it. Because what makes superheroes superheroes is hope, right? When you think of a superhero, it immediately gives you hope, right? Which is why you aspire to them. And Superman is the first superhero. So that is what percolates through this movie, and that's what percolates through every superhero movie. Every superhero movie, Zack Snyder nailed it down. He nailed down what it is, and he was able to, in the absence of Superman, show you how much he has an effect on all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds. So I thought that was just something that we could talk about this for like forever. We could talk about this till 2022 if you want to, because it covers. We could isolate the different aspects: how Superman impacted Deadshot, how Superman impacted Katana, how Superman impacted Captain Boomerang, because these people were around when Superman was around. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
There's a lot. There's a lot in that. I could go on forever. Yeah.
Yeah. But
go ahead.
Again, it goes back to everything we said, where Superman was the underlying theme for the DCEU in general. For this particular arc, he was the underlying theme.
He absolutely is. He's not as explicit in Wonder Woman, but then again, Wonder Woman kind of shares most of his attributes. And so in Justice League, we tie that together, where you hear Bruce Wayne say, Superman was a beacon of hope. Why weren't you? You basically have everything else that he has, but I never heard about you, right? So he ties it in. He ties in Wonder Woman to Superman that way, so that even no matter what you do, every single DCEU movie ties us back to Superman. That's how much Zack Snyder loves Superman.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you have people, because like for me, I'm gonna go because it's midnight here, but you had people who again will sit back and say that he despises the character and he hates the character. And my thing is this: I guarantee a lot of people, if they get the quote unquote Superman or whatever it is that they think that they want or that they claim that they want, they will find themselves bored in terms of even Marvel. Again, Black Panther saved Marvel because, again, it wasn't another quote-unquote cliche film.
Right, exactly. It's not superficial.
Yes, it's not. Yes, correct. It's not superficial. It's not loaded with American exceptionalism and all of these other things. You know what I'm saying? So it's not. So and neither was any DCEU Zack Snyder film.
Or any DCEU film, period. All the DCEU films have a unique take on, especially the psychological aspects of people. They explore different aspects. They're exploring the aspects of bad people. And these people are not going to turn good, but they're bad people. But still, at the same time, because people like to say that Suicide Squad is like Guardians of the Galaxy. It is not like Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, it's not. Not even close. No.
That's what I'm trying to say.
No, it's not.
Guardians of the Galaxy is about people who are anti-heroes, and they come together and they do redemptive things. And yeah, they still have some of the anti-hero tendencies, but at the end of the day, they feel that they're heroes. The Suicide Squad does not feel they're heroes. Well, they do feel they're heroes, but they're going back to prison. Nobody gets to walk away free. No. They don't walk away free because they're not good people. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And they have to pay for their time and whatever. And so, it's a very controversial movie if you think about it. If that's something like that was happening in the world today, I'm not saying it is not happening. Maybe on a covert level, maybe they're doing that. I know it happened in the past with the mob, but my point is that, that's not necessarily an ethical thing. You know what I'm saying? Not that you always ethical in war, but it's not an ethical thing. And I just think that it's in many respects, this movie, I think people just don't understand what they're seeing on the screen. I think that's what's happening. I instantaneously see how unique and fresh and different this movie is to other movies, but I think, like, people say that
Yeah.
this is a bad
Actually,
movie. Suicide Squad is a
no.
bad movie, and I'm like, no, man, no.
No.
This
Actually, no.
this is
Actually,
a movie
like
about
when
villains.
it
This is
comes
a
to,
movie about bad
yeah,
people. That's what
yeah.
you gotta have
Actually,
a movie,
when it comes to the DCEU, a lot of people just don't want to see it.
right?
I'm gonna be very honest with you. They just don't. Hey, they just don't want to see it. Hey, it's not. Again, It's not what I perceive it to be. So I'm gonna dismiss it.
Exactly. You know, and so I really enjoyed the film, and I think that the theatrical release is the best of the two. Even though I do like the other version as well. But the thing about it is that I think people I don't know what's happening with this present age of people. I'm not too sure how intelligent. I think they're intelligent. I just think they're closing their minds to entertainment. They listen to what the static that people say and the buzz about entertainment. And I think a lot of times people go in to just be entertained. They're not going in anymore to actually. Back in the 90s and the 80s, films used to actually say something. And
But
I don't think people
exactly, but
care
this
about
is
that so much anymore.
my wife said the same. But for some reason, but again, it's branding. So for some reason, they were willing to do that with Marvel. But with DC, again, I didn't want to think. I didn't want to ponder. And because my wife said that after BVS, she was like, Civil War, I didn't have to think. I just went in there. It was entertaining. I didn't have to digest any concepts.
I just don't get that though. Why is that something that's bad? It's bad now to think. It's bad now to reflect. I mean, what makes Man of Steel such a great film that people are watching now and calling it a masterpiece? They're calling it a masterpiece. I don't even think of it as a masterpiece.
After hating it,
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? The hypocrisy. And I'm like, they're now beginning to understand what they saw. You know what I mean? And it's just so funny to me. Like, why don't you just go into film with an open mind to see what the story is saying? Maybe you'll have to watch it again because, like, Black Panther is not a movie you can just watch once. Wonder Woman is not a movie you can just watch once. Suicide Squad is not a movie you can watch once. You undervalue the movie. You underestimate these movies when you just go and watch them once. And so why, Captain America, up to yesterday, I was watching Captain America and I saw something new in it. And I'm like, man, this is such a great. And what's the thing? A lot of people say that Captain America, the First Avenger, was not a great movie. It was not a good movie. That Winter Soldier was a better movie than it. I argue with anybody. Winter Soldier doesn't even touch Captain America, the First Avenger, because of the substance in it. Winter Soldier talks about. I understand the issues of governance and infiltration, all that. I understand what Winter Soldier is about, but at the end of the day, it does not touch Captain America: The First Avenger. I dare anybody. I can argue with them for days on that because I've seen Winter Soldier. I understand it. The action scenes are great. It's somewhat grounded. It deals with certain themes of governance. It deals with relationships with Bucky and Cap. It deals with different approaches to how to deal with global threats. Different approaches. And Cap proves to be correct once again. But at the end of the day, it does not touch Captain America: The First Avenger, in my opinion, in terms of the characteristics of Cap, the integrity of Cap, the development of Captain America. No other Captain America film really develops Captain America. He's been consistent throughout the other Captain America films. But in the first Captain America film, that character has a lot of development, a lot of growth. You know what I'm saying?
But the funny thing is that when you look at Captain America, he's the only one where his films, if you take any Marvel property outside of the Avengers itself, he's the only one where the films got consistently better.
You find they got consistently better? What do you mean by consistently better?
What I mean is that when I'm talking like good storytelling, right? So you have good. So here's the thing, right? It's consistent. Like, okay, you have Thor, and then you have Thor: The Dark World. I like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 also.
Yeah, so Guardians of the Galaxy. But then Guardians of the Galaxy is a movie where I feel like, for once, if you were to summarize what Marvel films are about, to me, that's what Guardians of the Galaxy tells me. This is what it is in its essence. They don't they make fun of their own universes. They're not, the characters are not to be taken very literal. It's not about realistic depiction of a hero. It's about fantasy.
Correct.
So that it reminds me, Guardians of the Galaxy reminds me of WB's Looney Tunes. That's what it reminds me of.
But it goes back to what I told you. What Zack Snyder is guilty of for many people is that he removed the fantasy. Batman is a ugly reality to watch. For example, you had Kevin Smith, right? When they put out the Netflix Punisher, for me, I'm a soldier. I have 2 combat tours. And if you watch the Netflix Punisher, I'm telling you firsthand, the way they played it out when people come home from war was real. It was extraordinarily real. And so for Kevin Smith, as a comic book fan, watch his review on The Punisher. And he was talking about, well, it was too long in some places. It was very dark. It was this. So Kevin Smith likes the fantasy of Frank Castle. But Frank Castle deconstructed is a horrible reality.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a horror. It goes back to what I told you. Spider-Man deconstructed is a horrible reality. You know, people, he makes his little quips. He's fun. He's this. Spider-Man is a mantle of guilt. If I made a Spider-Man film where Peter Parker is constantly tortured by that moment, nobody would like people the way this.
But the thing about it is, though, the thing about Spider-Man, which a lot of people don't get, is Spider-Man makes a lot of jokes, and he in battle sometimes, and he's very talkative to cover for his inner pain. A lot of comedians out there are people who come from very troubled pasts, and they use comedy to cope with it. So a lot of times people get caught up in Spider-Man's conversation, but they don't understand the heart of Spider-Man is a very conflicted, very guilt-ridden soul.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. But that's what I'm trying to say. So if you had Spider-Man waking up at night, or the person that he saved, he saved the person, and he's like, but Uncle Ben, I saved you. And it turns out to just be another ordinary old man that's not his uncle. Because again, for Spider-Man, that's why he can't stop saving people. That's why every time there's a siren, he runs off, because he's constantly trying to save his Uncle Ben. So if you took Spider-Man from that perspective, if you deconstructed him and showed the fact that Spider-Man is a mantle of guilt, again, you would have people who probably wouldn't like it, but realistically, that's what the character is.
But they did that with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and people loved it at the time. Didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I guess for me, you might have gotten that.
They didn't do it. They didn't do it all the way where he's like always trying to save Uncle Ben. They didn't do it as overtly as that, because
yeah, correct. Yeah, but yeah, it was there. Yeah, but it was there. But I guess what I'm saying is that if I made a Spider-Man film, for me, if somebody was to like really take you there with Spider-Man, today's audience will probably push back on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They too flippant right now, because things are too hard in the world. So people trying to avoid that. They're trying to escape instead of embrace.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
You hit the dead nail. You know what's so funny? One of my friends in UAE said that. My younger brother said that, and a bunch of people. And so, especially with BVS or whatever, with everything that's happening in the world now, and it's to your point. And people saw BVS, and like you said, it wasn't the escape that they were looking for.
Yeah, they were looking for a throwdown. So when BVS started confronting, it was like a big ugly mirror, and they're watching themselves. They didn't like that. They really didn't like it. So that's the reaction to it.
Because again, you had subtones of anti-immigration, racial bigotry. It was all, like I said, it was all there. And so a lot of people responded to it. A lot of people responded to it. Again, what happened was the backlash against BVS. What most people don't understand is that it's subconscious.
Oh yeah.
So people hate it, but they can't put a finger on as to why they hate it because
There was a guy that said he hated the movie so much he went and saw it 5 times and he couldn't stop seeing it. He said, I hated this movie, this damn movie, but I can't help myself. I have to go see it again. Funny. Because there's something in it. There's something in it that says that even if you hate Lex Luthor, like Lex Luthor, you can't take your eyes off of Lex Luthor, right? Everybody hated Lex Luthor, but yet they were watching him. They couldn't take his eyes off it. There's something about what the message in the movie that speaks to the core of a person, the heart of a person. And so you have to go back and see it again just to get that answer that you're looking for. But it doesn't quite give you the answer you're looking for. You have to actually go and see Justice League, and then you'll get the answer that you're looking for.
Correct.
Because it was a transitional movie, kind of like Empire Strikes Back with a lot more sting in it.
Yes. and that's exactly what it is. It is Empire Strikes Back with and you know what's funny? When Empire Strikes Back came out, nobody liked that either.
Exactly.
And now it's considered to be the best of all the original Star Wars films.
Because over time, when people's emotions calmed down and they started really analyze the movie and the other people unpacking it, they realized how much of a great movie it really was. And we already seeing it happening with BVS and Man of Steel. We'll see it with Justice League. Wonder Woman got the most praise, and that's cool. That's again, Wonder Woman benefited from those other movies that came before. The tone of the DCU was set. Suicide Squad turned out to be pleasantly accepted by most people.
Yes, correct.
But Suicide Squad was pleasantly accepted, and people don't realize it's just people need to get acclimatized to the DCEU. A lot of these criticisms are unfair to it because people don't know the direction. Like you said correctly, they didn't know where the end point was, where the DCU was heading. So people don't trust it, and they don't know where it's going. But you just have to watch where. I mean, I don't know how. Again, to me, I appreciate art and I appreciate movies. When I go to watch a movie, I don't go to condemn a movie. I go to enjoy a movie. So
correct. So it goes back to what you said. For me, when I go see a movie, if I could understand what the director's... So, for example, when I watched Catwoman, I couldn't understand what the director was trying to tell me. So, therefore, I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? Right. But if I could understand what the director is trying to say, like Interstellar, oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Great movie.
Yes, because like I said, again, if I can meet Christopher Nolan right now, I'll be like, you made a movie that was too smart for you. Because I would challenge him that I know his movie better than he does.
It's crazy. It's crazy, but Catwoman, I didn't hate Catwoman. I don't think of it as a good movie, but I didn't really hate it.
Yeah.
I understood where they were coming from, but I felt like where they came up short was the fact that we already saw an introduction and an origin to Catwoman in 1992 with Batman Returns. So why go and just do over the entire story?
Yeah, but it was nothing like Catwoman. There was no Batman. It was just...
Again, what I'm saying is I judge the story based on what it is. And she's not named Selena Kyle. They moved completely away from the arc of Catwoman and her attributes. The only thing I think that was like Catwoman was that she was moving like a cat per se, but the story was completely removed from what Catwoman is. And I always wondered, why did Warner Brothers go that direction? But even so, as a movie itself, it wasn't necessarily a bad movie per se. Okay. In terms of, if it wasn't named Catwoman, you wouldn't have a problem with it, really. You could have called it The Cat, maybe, or something like that. But I think what made it a poorly received movie, which Halle Berry calls it a lump of crap, but I think what made it poorly received was the fact that when you look at the story itself of Catwoman, you have to ask yourself this question. Why would they, is this a continuity or are they starting something totally new? And
yeah,
that's the problem. Warner Brothers didn't know what they were going to do with the franchise, where they were going to go with it. And so you get that feeling like they were trying to move away from what Michelle Pfeiffer would have done. Because remember, this movie was supposed to be a movie which Tim Burton directed, and Michelle Pfeiffer was actually the Catwoman of that movie. And it was supposed to be a continuity from Batman Returns. And it sounds like Warner Bros. Had to scrap all of that. And they were just going to say, you know what, this thing's been dragging on long enough. Let's just make a Catwoman movie. And they decided to go with a more of a Egyptian-centric sort of you know, the god that has the cat head from Egypt?
Yeah, Basat.
Yeah, Basat. They tried to go a female Basat route kind of thing, where the spirit of this Egyptian god goes inside of her and stuff like that. So that's what they tried to do. And the problem with that was that's not really Catwoman. So not only you're coming off of a movie where we saw Catwoman and we saw her origins, right? It was a couple years after things, 2003 from 1992, but still you're coming off of some, and you're trying to create this new mythos. And on top of that, so you're going to grade against the fandom, but on top of that, the way how you're approaching it is not believable. That was the problem. You're trying to do a believable, grounded film, but you're coming with this unbelievable background. It's kind of like what's the movie? Something of Egypt, Gods of Egypt, I think it's called.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Where you try to get that realistic, grounded feel in a fantastical, with a fantastical, very mythological, fantastical approach. So you're trying to, in other words, you're trying to do a grounded reality. That's where Zach shines and where these other guys fail. You're trying to do a grounded reality, kind of like The Mummy, but you're not where there are aspects where you have to suspend your belief. They're not executing it there. They're saying, no, we cannot suspend belief. This must be factual. So this is Greek, and you give no sci-fi explanation for it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's where they fail. So that's what happened with Catwoman. That's what happened with Gods of Egypt. That's what happened with, I think, one of the Mummy movies. Not the most recent one. I haven't seen all of the most recent one, but the one before that, which was not so well received either. They tried to ground it too much. It's kind of like you're trying to ground something that cannot be grounded in reality unless you explain it. And they didn't do that. Zach explained how Superman flies. He explained how Superman has his super strength, his super speed, his super power. These guys kind of did a hodgepodge of the mythos. So they didn't go deeply into the Egyptian mythos and study the Egyptian gods properly before they did Gods of Egypt. And then they go and do Gods of Egypt, and these guys don't even look like Egyptian gods, to be honest with you. They're dressed like Egyptian gods superficially, but they don't look and they don't carry about themselves like Egyptian gods. So there's the grounding that's necessary. You know, you really want to go via fantasy. Well, then go via fantasy. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with Catwoman. Catwoman, they try to explain certain things in the movie, and then other things they didn't explain. So, and they didn't suspend your belief. They didn't tell you, well, suspend your belief here. Like with Wonder Woman, there's certain points in the movie where you suspend your belief, right? And they kind of cue you to that. In those other movies, I think the director's approach, or whoever is doing the story or script or whatever, they're not suspending your belief. So what happens in Catwoman is you see some really fantastic things that Catwoman is doing. You know it's because this god is in her, but you have no explanation for how the god got in her, which would help to ground it. If you're going to go the grounded route, then you got to explain that somehow, some way. And that's where they fail. So there's all these technical things in movie making. I think that sometimes, you know, to pull off something that you wanted to read completely new, Christopher Nolan did it. He pulled off a completely different Batman in Batman Begins. Completely different character. But he grounded it, and he said, well, you know, even though he kind of bluffed some of it, he still people bought into the grounding of this character. You know, this grounding that
Yes.
he's creating, this illusion of grounding.
Yeah.
He was able to pull that
Yes.
off because
Yes.
he went to venue. You know, it wasn't. He went up into Iceland, and he had these guys. You know, the actor go through. You know, the cold and stuff. So you know it's real cold. You feeling it. So because you feel it and it feels palpable, and then he's explaining every step of the way. He's explaining it. He's building his foundation so that you buy it later on. Whereas with Catwoman, you didn't get that. So the foundation wasn't laid for you to really buy into what she was doing later on. Same thing with Gods of Egypt. If they had laid the foundation properly, you know which movie was fantastical and they still tried to stay grounded and they laid the foundation properly? X-Men Apocalypse.
Yes. I love that movie.
That's a good movie. That's a solid movie because they laid the foundation. They made sure you understood what was going on with this God. There was this God among men in Apocalypse. He wouldn't show his face, but he was there. And so I loved that, and that the metahumans were so far back in time. That's what you need to have. You have to make people believe by giving an explanation. It's fantastic because that's fantastical stuff, right? Nobody's gonna buy that just like that. So you have to lay the foundation for people to buy it later on, and by that this guy, he's doing these things. He's making these metahumans enhance their powers and abilities because you saw that that's what he's capable of doing. He's capable of, and you see it. You see it. They let you visually see that happen. So you buy into it later on, and you're buying into what he's doing. If you don't do that, if you don't lay that foundation, then nobody's gonna buy what you're doing. And that's what happened with Catwoman. I think it wasn't a bad film though. It wasn't as bad as people are making it out to be. Batman and Robin. Oh my God.
Yes.
Gives me shivers, man, thinking about that movie. That movie, man. Oh, that's
but if they were to make a new Batman and Robin now, people would lose it. They would run to the theater for that.
I think so because they bought into Thor Ragnarok, which is a Batman and Robin film as far as I'm concerned.
But there is a huge undertone to see Robin brought the life on screen, and for him to be brought in a realistic play, just like Batman. There's a huge craving for it.
Yeah, I think the Red Hood will be coming up in Teen Titans. I'm hearing the rumors about the Red Hood coming up on the scene.
Yeah.
That is gonna be nuts. You know what I'm saying? And New Gods but I'm talking about Batman and Robin, the film from 1995 that shut down the franchise for a while. I think it was 1997 or was it 1997? I think Batman Forever was 1995. I hated both films. I did not like those. I did not like those films. I didn't like the punchlines. I didn't like the jokes. I hated. I don't know. I just didn't like both films.
They were trying to sell more toys, man. Tim Burton was too dark to sell toys.
Oh, come on. I mean, Jim Carrey did pretty good in Batman Forever. He actually scared me for a minute when his face changed a bit. And I was like, did that guy do that to his face? Or is that a demon that did that? But other than that, I really don't like those films. Like I just don't understand. Anyway, I was going to stop talking about that because I don't like talking about what I don't like. But I find that, you know, when we're talking about the future, since we're talking about the future, let's talk about some future films. Let me come off of this now. And I know we've been going for a while. We're going to wrap up in a minute. Let me just see what people say in the chat section, as well as let's talk a little bit about upcoming releases, man.
Well, you're going to the chats now?
Let's go to the chats first. Let's see what's happening. Oh, Dave Ethan says, hey there, y'all. What did I miss? And it's my birthday, by the way. Happy birthday to you, Dave Ethan. Happy birthday to you. Cyan Blue says, Batman says, don't want to do this in front of your daughter to Deadshot. Bruce's parents were killed in front of him. Wow. That's true. That's true, Cyan Blue.
Yeah.
Leroy Kong says, all your videos are awesomely excellent. Thank you, Leroy Kong. Okay, so that's about it in the chat section. Let's talk about upcoming movies. The New Gods. Let's go, man. The New Gods. What do you think about that?
Oh, come on, man. I am ready to go to the fourth world. Are you crazy? And what it does, what the New Gods does, man, is that it makes the appeal of the coming of dark side and all of this the more, because it makes it easier for DC to explain. When you merge this all with the Justice League, you will know who Orion is. You will know who High Father is. You will know who Desaad, Granny Goodness, the female Furies, Big Barda. Again, you will know
Yeah.
who they are. And so, yeah, and so by introducing them, by letting that kind of run its own course, how High Father became High Father and how Dark Side became Dark Side. So that comes with the death of the old gods. And so when the old gods died, that's how you get the new gods, right? And so it's going to be, I think that it's going to be real intriguing, very interesting. It's going to be really good. And I think that what it does is that it sets up the quote unquote outer or the larger scale, DC universe. I hope they mention the source wall and all of that other cool stuff. And so by the time you fuse that down to Justice League, again, people are, you will have people in the know, and it won't be more difficult to tell the story.
Exactly. And one of the things I really am looking forward to with the New Gods is, I think like you said, they're going to basically, I would be interested in seeing if any of the New Gods influenced Ares in killing the old gods somehow, some way. If somehow Ares, there was more to the story than just Ares being jealous of his father. If somebody might have influenced Ares in turning against his father, would be interesting as well. Maybe that's something there. But also, in addition to that, yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm like, for me, I am totally all for it. I'm saying, I think, like I said, again, the DCU is here. It's gonna go strong and everything else. The only thing, it goes to the point. What Marvel did was, and I told you, they just sold people on the future. Everybody knew what was coming. So people's frustration with DC was two things. I took away the fantasy of the superheroes, and I didn't tell you where it was going. So for DC, so if you would have told people, just like Marvel did, Marvel told people 10 years ago the end game is Infinity War.
Right.
If DC would have told people, hey, our end game is Crisis on Infinite Earths, then fine. Then people will say, okay, I know, again, I know where it's going. Hence where people talk about this Marvel formula or everything else and all of this stuff. And what I like about the DC films that's separate from Marvel is that all the films, even Justice League, all 5 films feel like actual movies. They don't feel like the commercial for something that's going to come.
Right. Exactly. And what I want to say, I'm thinking about the fact that we're going to have Aquaman next year. Aquaman this year, sorry. And then we're going to have Shazam. We're going to have Wonder Woman next year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is crazy. I look at how Shazam is connected to Superman already. And the fact that they're even acknowledging that when we look at the Marvel family that's there, by the way, Marvel, shout out to Marvel there. And also the fact that Aquaman is a follow-up on the Justice League movie. Man, I can't wait, because, then we're hearing about Teen Titans. We're hearing about the Joker movie that's coming out. We're hearing, and of course, those are a little bit oblique to the DCEU, the Joker movie. But what I find very interesting with all of these movies, and that's why I argue for Flashpoint to come. I think it's 2020. Flash movie will be coming out because they have the directors and everything. I'll argue for Flashpoint, because Flashpoint does so much for the DCEU, where people are talking about, you were talking about Crisis on the Infinite Earths, which is awesome and cool, but I'm thinking that could come after Flashpoint, because here's the thing where I argue with Flashpoint. One, it's not just Flash's perspective on things, but it's also the possibilities of these other universes and other worlds where you could tell other stories. So that now, if you want to tell the Joker story, you don't have to worry about if it's in the DCU or not. The DCU affords you that you could tell a Joker story in an alternate universe, period. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And you don't have to use the resources of every single Joker out there. Where Crisis of the Infinite Earths, you have to deal with all the different Jokers, all the different Supermans. You don't have to do that. All you have to do with Flashpoint, all you have to do is present one alternate universe, and then show that Flash fixed the timeline. And what you get in the end is, okay, the possibility of other universes out there, right? So whereas, Doctor Strange showed up in Thor Ragnarok, right? And he kind of showed a possibility of some other dimension out there, and that's the same way with a Flashpoint movie. It shows the possibility of another dimension, and also all you need. You don't really need to show all the other dimensions until you're ready for that big Crisis on Infinite Earths, that big ensemble that really, so you can build up to that. And when you have characters like Darkseid, Doomsday, you're talking about the Green Lantern Corps with Sinak, you got all of these. Now you can remember the first Justice League movie is the birth of the Justice League. The Justice League is huge, right? We got hundreds of characters that make up the Justice League. So what I'm saying is, when you get to the second Justice League movie, which maybe is Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever it is, now we can just put everybody in there because everybody's kind of more or less been introduced. So when you know the new gods, you got all of that stuff. So the next Justice League movie could be like Crisis on Infinite Earths or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It could be huge. So,
but that's what I'm saying. So again, but that will be the difference, because I'll say, because it's midnight for me now, so I'm gonna go super. But that's what I'm trying to say, is that if Zack Snyder would have walked out there from the beginning, if DC would have told people we're going from Man of Steel to Crisis at Infinite Earths, what I'm saying is that all the leeway that Marvel has gotten, probably DC would have gotten it again, because Marvel got away with, because there's a lot of mediocrity between Iron Man 1 and Infinity War.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, though, I think Marvel gets a pass for being the first guy on the lot in terms of ensemble superhero. Not really, because X-Men was the first, or maybe there was another one before that. But what I'm saying is, though, ensemble superhero movie that had major superhero Marvel characters other than X-Men. And I feel I got to say all those kind of clauses. I just think that Disney gets a pass because it's a Disney production. I think it's more political than anything. Because look, Zack Snyder said what the next movie would have been 3 years after Man of Steel, right? He came out in 2000 and what was it? 2013. Was it 2013? He said Batman v Superman, right? Yep. That was 2 years after, and Batman v Superman came out 3 years after, right? So you get all that clearance. Everybody knows Batman and Superman is leading up to that, and you saw how much negativity came. So if Warner Brothers goes and pitches their, Crisis on Infinite, they're gonna starch that, because that's the caustic environment we're in, where it's all about partisanship, and we got a lot of Marvel fans out there that kind of insecure with themselves, and they just bash DC. So I feel like, even if they had told the endpoint, because they were second to Marvel in terms of creating this universe, this DCEU, there was no other cinematic universe before that. Warner Brothers had tried a couple times, they didn't succeed. So Disney comes with this out of Paramount. Disney Marvel Now Studios comes out with that, and all of a sudden everybody's praising them for mediocre stuff, but it's because they got the nod. They were first. People enjoyed Avengers, which was done by Joss Whedon, the same Joss Whedon everybody's condemning now. And that's, again, I show you the hypocrisy. We started hearing all these negative things about Joss Whedon, how, he took advantage of women. He's not really a true feminist and stuff, all because he's doing Justice League, right?
Yep.
He jumps on and decides to do Justice League, and they start attacking him. All these Marvel fans start attacking him. So I'm just saying, and the DC fans so stupid, they just fall in with the bandwagon, and they're bashing Joss Whedon to this day, when he did a pretty good job of Justice League, and he did what he was supposed to do, which was cut down the movie and, where appropriate, lighten it up and whatever. So I'm just saying, they're angry with Joss Whedon, and I'm just looking at this. I'm saying, how could you be mad at a guy who is actually trying to implement Zack Snyder's vision? He's not Zack Snyder, so you can't get what Zack Snyder would have done. But he's trying to actually stay in line with that and do the best he can with what he knows. He's not trying to do Joss Whedon. right? If Joss Whedon's movie and Joss Whedon does things Joss Whedon's way, it would look totally different. So I can't understand how people are angry at the guy for trying his best. And then they're bashing him. They're going into his personal life. They're attacking him and all of that just because the dude is still taking on a DC film. And that's why I tell you with partisanship, some of these guys, they're not reasoning. There's no rational thought. There's just blatant attacks on things. And that's what you're seeing. And I think if the DCU had showed their endpoint game or their end game, two things would have happened. Marvel would have accelerated their game, and they would have stolen the ideas like they've been stealing all the time. And the other thing was you would get a lot of bashing of the DCEU, a lot of bashing. People, it would be intense, and they would try to hope that the DCU would fail so they wouldn't even reach that point. Now that they don't know the end game and they don't really know what the DCU is doing, and people are now beginning to see for themselves how good these movies are. And once we keep on doing these little streams and podcasts on the merits of these films, people are going to realize, oh snap, I need to really go see this film. And you're hearing it over and over again, because people like you, people like me, we're showing what these movies really are about. And so once people see that, now they have to take a second look. I had memes put up on different sites, and people are dismissive about my memes, right? They don't even read the meme. They just look at the superficial front of the meme and they say, oh, I know about this. And when they start, I say, okay, fine. You know about it. So what is it saying? And when they start to say what they think the meme is saying, they realize how much they underestimated the meme. And we have a discussion, and then they begin to realize, oh, snap, this thing was deeper than I thought. And I think that's the same thing to do with Zack Snyder. They think he's an action director. They think he's just about visual imagery, and that's it. And when they finally start to see what Zack is actually saying in his movies, that's when they start appreciating them. And then you get, oh, Man of Steel was a masterpiece. Zucker Punch was actually a misunderstood movie. You hear them say all these things, but at the time when the movies came out, they weren't saying those things,
Yes, correct.
You know what I mean? Anyway,
correct.
Matt, I don't want to keep you back too long. I want you to give your words on the closing statements about the future of the DCU, what you've seen with these lineup of movies, how excited you are. I am extremely excited about those movies. By the way, I hope to see Black Panther this Sunday with my cousin. I want to see it again. I'm very excited to talk about that movie. I think it's an exceptional movie, exceptional Marvel movie, an exceptional movie in period. I'm excited to talk about that, as well as I want to talk about Star Wars The Last Jedi. I would love to have you on for a hangout session, maybe on another weekend, talking about Star Wars The Last Jedi. I feel that movie has been done an injustice in terms of what people have been saying negatively about it. That movie is a masterpiece of a film. I think that also Black Panther is a great film in line with the lineage of Wonder Woman, in line with the lineage of Man of Steel. I think it's up there with Captain America, the First Avenger. I don't really value the other two Captain America films like you do. And maybe it's just because I may have some dismissiveness in what I'm seeing. I'm probably not seeing it like you. That I have a bias towards Marvel in certain respects. I'm kind of dismissive of their movies sometimes. So I also admit my faults and shortcomings. And if in any way, shape, or form I am wrong, please correct me. I was dismissive of the Transformers movies until I met Trent Osborne, and he started breaking down what the Transformers movies were. So there is some merit to Transformers movies, not as deep as some of the other movies. Like, the movies I like are like Unbreakable and
Unbreakable is the best comic book. Unbreakable is the best comic book film ever made. Period.
And I like Split. I like Split too. Split, Unbreakable, X-Men. Which one is it? X-Men. I don't know if it's the first one or the second one. I have to go back and watch them though. One of them was a really wonderful piece of movie. And I'm not talking about Days of Future Past. Days of Future Past is okay, but the one I also enjoyed Logan. Logan was a good film as well. Not as good as Wonder Woman or Justice League or those kind, but it was a good movie. Blade Runner 2049. I need to really talk about that movie. That movie on so many levels, I think, is cinematically and otherwise really high up there, in terms of sci-fi and everything. Yes. I just wish I could talk about, because those are the kinds of films I talk about, So when I talk about, Batman v Superman being up there with those films, I think Batman v Superman is the best comic book movie ever made so far. I mean, Unbreakable is great. Don't get me wrong. But I just think there's so many issues discussed in Batman v Superman that I don't think I can. I don't think there's any move. I mean, Zack Snyder outdid himself with Batman v Superman. I love to see what Justice League brings to the table that he was completely going to give. There's a lot, I guess, that would be added to the film in terms of value if we were to see his cut. So I would love to see that. But Justice League, I mean, it's a crazy film in that it ties up all the DCEU movies in ways that people have not thought about. And I'm pretty sure Zach thought about it. And so he had this certain pattern. And then Chris Terrio is just fantastic with his script writing. And then Whedon came in and kind of, you know, it has been diluted down because he had to cut and paste and clip, but he had an idea of what Zach was doing. Obviously, they talked about it. So
correct.
It's not as, you know, it's not a Frankenstein movie by any means. It actually has a nice flow to it, and I think Whedon tried to follow in the spirit of Zach and emulate certain things, which I think he did a pretty good job at doing. It's just the CGI kind of let them down in terms of certain places in the movie where the standard was very high for CGI, and it kind of fell with Henry Cavill's, you know, look. But it's really not that big a deal because unless you're very picky about these things, you would see it if in the ultimate cut, in the not ultimate cut, in the 4K cut, the UHD, the ultra high view. It's really, really, really good. It's not that bad at all. It's not bad at all. So I'm dying to get all of the high definition. I don't have the highest definition. I don't have the 4K version of all these movies. I think I'm gonna get the digital 4K for all the DCU movies so I can just sit down and watch them all.
Oh my God, and you will love it. It will take the cinematography to another level.
I'm telling you, man. And Warner Brothers puts out money to do their sets, like their elaborate sets. Like, you know how the Star Wars guys, they take time to do their elaborate sets. They don't cut corners with that. Man, I mean, the elaborate sets are also impressive. And David Ayer, what I love about David Ayer is he didn't really have a lot of CG that he did. There was a lot of practical sets that David Ayer actually used. So that was just beautiful as well. I mean, and if you've seen David Ayer's movie, what is it with the wand? You need to go. If you haven't seen that movie on Netflix with Will Smith.
Oh, Bright.
Bright. Oh my God, that's a great movie. It's a great movie. I mean, David Ayer, man. Oh my gosh. So, you know, there's still some movies I haven't seen from last year that I'm supposed to go see and watch. But man, I'm telling you, man, it's up there. The other movies that we need to see, I think they're coming up. Is Cyborg still scheduled to come out at any time? They don't have a director for him, do they?
No, it's not. It wasn't. It was scheduled for 2020, so that they would have to start, you know, sometime soon. But I don't think it is. I don't think it's coming.
Oh man, that's kind of a bummer because I really love Cyborg. That's my favorite Justice League character. It's my favorite. Cyborg is my favorite Justice League character. I love Superman. I love Batman. I love Wonder Woman. You know, I love all the other members of the Justice League. But if you ask me which character intrigues me the most, because I come from a sci-fi background, I do research, all that kind of stuff. I'm telling you, man, Cyborg intrigues me the most. You know, and all I ask people to do, I know it's very hard to do, but you just buy one Cyborg comic and you'll see what I mean. If you haven't read a Cyborg comic, please, this is for the fans out there listening, go pick up a Cyborg comic and read any one. I don't care which one you read. It will fascinate you. You will be drawn in because when you start reading the comic, Cyborg's one way, but by the time you finish reading that comic, Cyborg's totally different to what he was. And that's the thing that gets me every single time. He evolves like on the drop of a dime. He's just constantly changing. And that's what I love about Cyborg. It's incredible. Incredible character. Anyway, wrapping up here. We've done a record marathon here. Let's just wrap up. So in wrapping up, what's your last words, William?
All I'm saying, guys, is that the future is bright And when it comes to art, there's still something, it's the element of surprise as to instant gratification. So we all woke up one Friday morning and discovered that we were getting a new God's film. So again, remember, art is something that's subjective. And just because you disagree with the director's point of view doesn't mean that the film is bad. You guys just have two different visions on that particular property or idea. That's all I have.
Nice, nice. And I am pumped. I'm excited for the DCEU. I'm looking forward to Aquaman next in a world we have never seen before. We have never seen a superhero movie in the sea. So I'm looking forward to that. And the development of the character of Arthur Curry, because I know by the time the movie ends, Arthur Curry will be a different sort of character. He will have evolved. And I love that all these characters in the DCEU, they're evolving in front of us. We're seeing them grow into the characters we know and love. Justice League gave us a taste of Cyborg growing into what he is, gave us a taste of the Flash breaking the time-space barrier, and gave us a taste of Aquaman going back to Atlantis. So I cannot wait for these movies to come out. And then, of course, maybe it gave us a taste of Shazam. Maybe it did. Maybe in the beginning of the movie gave us a taste of Shazam. You never know. So I'm looking forward to that. I love the fact that the future, again, I'm hopeful in the spirit of Superman. I'm hopeful for the future because it's the potential that we look towards. And for me, I enjoy movies where I cannot predict where the outcome will be. I like to know that the outcome is actually something that I had not thought about. And so what I like about the DCEU is that I do not exactly know exactly where they're going with it. And I like that. I don't want to know exactly where they're going because that takes some of the joy and suspense and enjoyment out of going into a movie to see what is actually going to give you. I always enjoyed movies because I want to see what they're actually going to give me. I'm an active thinking person. So while a movie is happening, I'm actually trying to figure out what are the possibilities that it will lead to. If I can figure out what's going to happen in the end, then that is a boring movie for me. I don't want to know. So that's the difference between me and some other people. I like to go into the cinema. I like to go see something fresh, new, and learn something a little bit. By the time I come out of the cinema, I have something to carry with me into my daily life. That's how I like to go into the cinema doing. That's why I don't really go and see a whole ton of movies in the cinema. I generally go and see certain movies. Like I'm pretty sure I'm going to go see Black Panther again because that movie has so much in it that I have to go see it a second time, a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time. And then probably then I can say, okay, I'm going to get the DVD and watch the rest. Because it's loaded. If that movie's loaded, man, it's loaded and it's talking. And I'm surprised that Marvel took the chance and made an opinionated film for a change. That's something that only the DCU was doing. So I'm happy that they did that. And quite frankly, Zack Snyder is known as Mr. Opinion. He makes movies for himself, and that's what makes that he gives his opinion on things. I love that. I love that Marvel has embraced that aspect of storytelling. Wonder Woman was the same thing. So if they keep on doing that, I mean, I'm going to be watching Marvel films. You know, I'm sorry. I'm not excited for Infinity War. It doesn't mean my opinion won't change. I'm not excited for Infinity War, but I can tell you this. I can tell you, if Marvel keeps on making those kinds of films like what Black Panther made, oh, I'm gonna be excited for any Marvel film. All right, because that's what it's about. So I just wanted to share that. Let's just check the chat section and then we're boogieing out of here. Anything else you guys got to say in the chat section? Ooh, okay. Bored person on the internet says, "Are you guys excited for Avengers: Infinity War?" Right. So we just said that. One person said he was. I'm sure you're excited, right, William?
Yeah, I am. I am pumped up for it.
Right. I'm glad you were pumped up for it. Me, I'm not excited for it. I'm being honest with you. I'm not excited for it, but I'm sure that in the end, whatever your persuasion be on the internet, bored person on the internet, I want to say to you, I hope that you get what you want in those films. So Infinity War, if you're pumped for it, brother, be pumped for it. Be pumped for, you never know. I might become pumped for it. I became a believer in Black Panther after I was excited for Black Panther, and then afterwards I wasn't excited for it, and then I happened to see it and I was excited for it after. So I'm just saying, You just never know. Sometimes I'm just being honest right now. I'm not excited for Infinity War. It doesn't mean anything though. I'm excited for Aquaman, and not everybody's excited for Aquaman. And I understand that. I can understand that. But for me, the DCU has never let me down. So I love the DCEU, and I hope they make a lot more movies. And I hope they trust in their directors and the direction the directors are going. Anybody else? No more comments in the top chat section. We got 3 people watching right now. Is that what, 3 or 4? Okay, 4 people. But at the end of the day, I just want to say I thank you guys. Shout out to William Ruffin, also known as Nerderati magazine.
Yes.
You actually have a magazine?
Yes, I'm developing one. Yes.
Oh, please share it with us when you some drafts and other things, and I'll actually showcase it a little bit on my channel.
Okay. Yeah, but done.
All right, great. And there's another writer in R2 Lemonin. He also writes for Traveler Among Wizards. He actually does these crossover comics. He crossed over Batman with Doctor Who, so that's pretty interesting. So shout out to Nerdarati Magazine, William Miranda, R2 Lemonin, Video Game Vision Quest, Leroy Kong, and Cyan Blue, as well as Dave Ethan and Board Person on the Internet. You guys have a great afternoon. God bless you all, and have a safe and effective week.
Yes.
All right, man.
All right.